Illinois, we took a trip to New York City, and we stayed at the Times Square Motor Hotel. This was in 1966, with a variety of hookers and all sorts of things.
Good evening and welcome to the Monday, October 17th, 2022 Litchfield Board of Selectmen meeting. The board has just come out of a paperwork review. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I gotta finish my story.
At the conclusion. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we start this evening, we'd like to welcome our new town administrator, Ms. Kim Kleiner. Welcome.
Officially.
Thank you.
Officially, starting your third week today, but the first
Yes.
meeting of us all together. Welcome, it's great to have you on board.
Yes. One of the things I like to say is that this is her first meeting per se.
Yeah.
Introduce her to the public as such. It's important because when somebody said to me, "Who is she?" And I says, "We'll get you out there."
Would you like to give a little bit of your background for those watching?
Sure. So actually, I've been asked, I think, in a couple times now since I've been here, if I have family from the area. Yes, I do. Kleiners are been in Hudson and Litchfield. But for the past 7 years, I've worked for the city of Nashua. I've worked first in the mayor's office as chief of staff, and then as the director of administrative services, handling many of the departments within City Hall. Prior to that, I was on the National School Board for 5 years, and before that, I was in finance and private industry. But I am very happy to be here, and it has been a great couple weeks.
Great.
Thank you.
She's been to more budget hearings than selectmen meetings.
I have.
And CIP. All right, first we have the review and approval of consent items. We have the account payroll manifest of October 4th, 2022 in the sum of $42,855.45. October 11th, 2022 in the sum of $155,336.97. And October 18th, 2022 in the sum of $38,905.91. We have the payroll manifest of October 6th, 2022 in the sum of $65,458.75. October 13th, 2022 in the sum of $59,482.58. And October 20th, 2022 in the sum of $65,430.52. We have the tax collector September 2022 reconciliation and the town clerk reconciliation for September 2022. Are there any items members would like to remove from consent? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Leary,
Second?
second by Mr. LaSalle's. All those in favor, Mr. Leary. Aye. Mr. LaSalle's.
Aye.
Mr. Lynch.
Aye.
Ms. Queenan.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0-0. Is there any other business members would like to add this evening? Hearing none, public input will occur no earlier than 6:45 p.m. The first item of business is the approval of the September 26, 2022 minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review? And do we have any comments or corrections?
It's usually Kim's ball of wax.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
We have a motion by Ms. Queenan.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Leary. All those in favor, Mr. Leary.
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's.
Aye.
Mr. Lynch.
Aye.
Ms. Queenan.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0-0. Next, we have 3 public hearings, which will open and close one by one. The first is the public hearing for special one-time highway payment in the sum of $173,235.85. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make,
We have a motion by Mr. Leary.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Lynch. Do we have, you want to introduce what it's for?
Sure.
Lionel?
So the first one is a special one-time highway payment. And this is actually, was discussed a while ago. I just spoke with Kevin Brown this morning. Mostly this is going to be used for paving, and there's some paving that is actually going to be started this week. This is a one-time payment based on municipalities' mileage on their Class 4 and Class 5 highways, as well as the municipalities' population. So the special one-time payment, it's $173,235.85.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So this is a one-time payment. Have we gotten this payment in previous years?
No.
No.
We haven't. I hear yes and no. We haven't?
I don't think we've gotten this in prior years.
No.
No,
So this is, and where is this coming from?
This was approved in the passage of Senate Bill 401.
Oh,
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming here.
Hopefully you voted the right way on that one.
hopefully.
thank you and Ralph for getting us some more money. Everybody's alignment's appreciated.
Does anybody have any comments or questions? All right, we'll open up a public input. If we have anybody from the public like to provide input on this public hearing?
Is that any general input, or is on this?
Or just on this item?
On this, yeah.
Yeah. All right, hearing none, we'll close public input on this hearing. Do we have a motion from the board?
Make a motion to accept the one-time payment of $173,235.85.
So second.
We have a motion by Mr. Leary, a second by Mr. Lynch. All those in favor, Mr. Leary?
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
Ms. Queenan?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing on this item?
So move.
We have a motion by Mr. LaSalle's,
Second.
second by Mr. Leary. All those in favor, Mr. Leary?
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
Ms. Queenan?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0. Next we have is the public hearing for locality equipment grant in the sum of $50,000. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing? We have a motion by Mr. Leary,
Second?
second by Mr. LaSalle's. Ms. Kleiner?
So this is actually a part of the gopher money that was sent down from the state. It was a locality equipment grant. $50,000 was the highest that a city or town in New Hampshire could receive for purchasing safety and emergency equipment that was needed as a response to the health crisis and its negative effects. Here it is being used for the purchase of a cruiser for $45,600 and fit up for the cruiser for $4,359.
Thank you.
I think this is a grant that the police went after, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
They applied
Yep.
for it and got it?
They've been doing a good job with those grants.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions, comments?
Make a motion,
I
we
gotta
approve
open
it.
public input first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In case somebody wants to give some input. Okay, we'd like to open up public input for the locality equipment grant. Do we have any members from the public that'd like to provide input? Hearing none, we'll close public input. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Leary.
Second.
A second by
Gotta
Ms.
get one
Queenan.
in.
Atta girl.
All those in favor, Mr. Leary.
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's.
Aye.
Mr. Lynch.
Aye.
Ms. Queenan.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0. Do we have a motion to close public hearing for locality of equipment grant?
Go ahead, Kim.
So moved.
Yes, so moved. I was gonna say yes, but
We have a motion by Ms. Queenan,
Second?
second by Mr. LaSalle's. All those in favor, Mr. Leary.
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's.
Aye.
Mr. Lynch. Ms. Queenan.
aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0. And the last one is critical communication generator grant in the sum of $22,110.73. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
Aye.
We have a motion by Mr. Lynch,
Second?
second by Ms. Queenan. Ms. Kleiner?
So the critical communication generators grant, I believe, and Karen's gonna correct me if I'm wrong, was Mr. Brunel, who applied for the grant for the purchase and the install of generators for the 3 communication towers, to provide critical backup power to those towers as needed.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
Again, thanks for saving the taxpayers' money.
And where did this money come from?
The house.
I believe this was a state
The what?
state emergency.
And it's federal money, I'm sure, that's where it comes from, all money comes from the federal government for the most part.
I'm reminded of my senator when I was growing up, a fellow by the name of Everett Dirksen, who said on the floor of the Senate, $1 million here and $1 million there. Before long, you're talking about real money.
Okay, hearing no more questions, would like to open it to public input. Do we have any members of the public who would like to provide input on the critical communication generator grant? Hearing none, we'll close public input. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing for critical communication generator grant?
So move.
Motion by Mr. LaSalle's,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Lynch. All in favor, Mr. Leary?
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
Ms. Queenan?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0-0. Next item is the authorized list of the NHMA. Ms. Kleiner?
Yes, so last week I received an email from the NHMA, asking us to list the town contacts that they are authorized, to speak to. And this is generally their legal staff, that would speak to one of us and to the board. So I updated the names, using the information that we have used in the past, and I just submit that to you for your approval before sending it off.
Okay. So generally, usually it's all the department committee chairs, and then it's the department heads that are in the town moderator.
Just to change the names.
Yep.
Yep.
We do it once a year.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
We have a motion by Mr. Leary,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Lynch. All those in favor, Mr. Leary?
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
Ms. Queenan?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0-0. Next, we have Matthew Hoffman, Conservation Committee, full member, term expiring March 31st, 2025. Ms. Kleiner?
So Mr. Hoffman couldn't be with us tonight. I did receive both Mr. Hoffman and Mr. French's from Jason Brennan, Conservation Committee Chair. Mr. Hoffman is actually going from an alternate member to a full member, and both of these gentlemen were unanimous with the Conservation Committee.
Okay, great.
Is French here tonight? Neither one? Oh, you are?
Come on up.
Hey, come on up and say
Come on
hi.
up and join us,
We'd love to meet our people.
especially the ones that want to volunteer to help out.
Anyone that volunteers?
They're near and dear to our heart.
Come on up. How you doing?
Fred, thanks.
You could state your name and address for the record, please.
Fred French, 1 Laurel Street, Litchfield, New Hampshire. Been there since 1994.
Still
So
new.
I've been working on projects with Jason for the last 2 or 3 years. I was in high tech for 30 years, and I got laid off as an IT manager and decided to go into property maintenance for a few years. So I've been doing that for the last 20, 25 years for larger estates over in Nelson, the town I came from. I grew up on a farm over there. So I'm very interested in the conservation of the agricultural property in town, and like working with Jason, so.
Great, well, thank you for volunteering, we greatly appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Appreciate it.
Not enough people do it.
Yeah, appreciate
Welcome
it.
to Litchfield.
Thank you.
No, he's been here forever.
A little while.
Only 28 years.
Do we have any comments or questions for Mr. French?
Just thank him for his service.
Greatly
you, Fred.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
The board members, I went to the board, and he was very good answering stuff and especially the technical stuff.
I'm familiar with the conservation.
Yeah.
Harris Fund Conservation Group, so.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a little different.
We need a motion to,
Yes, for both of them.
make a motion to approve both members' terms as stated.
We have a motion by Mr. Larry,
Second?
second by Mr. LaSalle's. All those in favor, Mr. Larry,
Aye?
Mr. LaSalle's.
Aye.
Mr. Lynch.
Aye.
Ms. Queenan.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0-0. Thank you once again for giving back to the community.
This
Next,
is the boring meeting if you really wanna stay here.
It's not like I'm.
Okay.
next we have Emergency Management Director discussion. First up, we have Mr. John Brunel. Ms. Carter.
Yeah. Missed one.
What did I miss?
Resignation.
Resignation.
Luna Bulmer.
I don't have a resignation.
Right here?
That's further down.
It's further.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. We're all wrong.
Come on up.
See it?
That's item number 10.
Oh, it's lumped with this one.
Oh.
So this will be the first time
I don't see that.
I talk about this role, so feel free to ask
Good
any
evening and
questions.
welcome.
Well, thank you.
Oh, the resignation.
So, as everybody here knows who I am, so I'm John Brunel, I live at 6 Bear Run Drive in Litchfield, obviously. I'm the current IT director for the town, handling mostly everything that's technology related, including all the emergency communication systems. When the position became vacant, I threw my name in the hat saying this would be a good blend for the role that I do today. During the pandemic, I spent all hours working with the emergency management department and team and all the different resources, doing the coordination. When I look at this role as the EMD, it's really about coordinating, project managing, and ensuring things get done in a timely fashion. It's also building partnerships with all the town departments, the department heads, but also outside of the town too, with the federal agencies and the state agencies. All things that I do in my professional life all day. I handle large projects. I manage many people. I do that pretty much on. The fact that I'm actually in and out of this town pretty much all day, every day. I cross paths with every one of the department heads or most of the employees in general. So I have a really, really good working relationship with everybody. And I think if you ask anybody that I work with, they would probably share that same commentary. So I'm just stepping up to help out. Again, it's a passion of mine to sort of be that leader and be able to coordinate and bridge those gaps. When I look at the responsibilities of the EMD, there are a few things that I need to go do. One thing is, the state, they generally require you to be NIM certified or IMS certified, or at least knowledgeable. I've already reached out to the state, trying to understand what those training programs are. So that's something I would actually seek and do. But like I said, when I look at the different roles, we don't really have a job description for it because it's always been part of the fire department.
Yep.
But if you look at any of the other agencies around or any of the communities around us, and even what the state recommends, it's really, it talks about all the things I said before. You coordinate, you provide leadership, you handle communications, you ensure things are done and executed on a proper time frame. You could seek grants to help fund all that. We have to refresh our emergency plan, and that would be a grant that would go for to get the funding to do that, because it does, it's not something we actually budget for. We used to do it based on grants. So those are all things that I would continue to do. As I said, qualifications, they do talk about NIMS and ICS. That's all achievable through the state. The ability to effectively manage the local, state, and communications, again, that's my career. I do that every day. I communicate all day long. Being knowledgeable of the different departments and what goes on and their needs and their things that would be involved during a sort of disaster or some kind of emergency that we would have to handle at a local level or even at a state level. All things that, like I said, with the relationships I have, I believe that I can either bridge that gap or understand what those issues are. And then, basically exercise good judgment. A lot of times I talked to a previous E&D, and he said, he goes, the job is a lot of paperwork, which I sit in an office all day, so paperwork's easy for me to do all day. But it's really stepping back and empowering the folks that are actually in charge of these departments to execute based on what we decided that we want to do as a generalized plan. So that's something that I would still, hope to accomplish and do. So that's me in a nutshell, and why I'm doing it, why I stepped up to do it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I know you were part of the emergency plan when we did do it, what, 3 years ago now?
For what, a
I
year
think
and a
it's
half?
almost time to look at that one again, and we
Yeah,
worked
oh, yeah,
hand in hand
definitely,
during
yeah.
the whole entire COVID crisis, so.
And then, yeah, during the COVID crisis, I was on every call, arranging all the, and communicating those things and following up. So,
Spent a lot of time together on those.
yeah. Good times and bad times.
Oh, yeah. Comments, questions?
Since we're not gonna be making a decision on this position tonight, I'd like to ask Ms. Kleiner to reach out and come up with a job description. And for the next meeting, when we will again be talking with people, to have maybe a couple from the state or whatever that we can talk about. I don't feel comfortable with putting someone in a position that we don't have a job description for. So if the rest of the board is amenable to that, I'd like to propose that. And so we can talk about the job description when we interview other candidates next time.
Well, I think these are the two that we
Well,
have, but I mean.
before
I
you
agree
got
with
here, Bob, Lieutenant Hubbard reached out to me this evening. He thinks he has 2 people on the department that would also like to throw their name in the ring. So, he's gonna have them reach out to us,
Hubbard,
Hubbard.
he's one of the squad leaders. He's one of the squad
Yeah,
leaders.
he reached out, so, and, I mean, that's if their names do come up. They said had interest, but do they actually wanna come?
Is it something we wanna do this late in the game? I mean, we've had this out there for a while. I know. And everybody's had an opportunity, and we've had two gentlemen
Yep.
step up and say they'd like to do it. I mean, I don't know, I have reservations about adding people to the mix at this point. But I do like Rich's, idea of coming up with a job description.
Yeah, I'm happy to point Kim to all the pointers I found.
Ready to do it?
So where does that leave us?
Job description. Job description, yeah, we'll talk to the 2 candidates that we have, and we can come to a decision at the next meeting.
Okay.
Give us time to go over and for Kim to come up with information.
So what you're saying is that you don't want to enable these other 2 folks to put their hat in the ring?
Well, the position's been open for what, 2 months? or
I know,
3
I
months,
know.
And everybody's known that we needed it.
I know.
Yeah, I would keep it to the candidates we have. I mean, we
Okay.
put it out there and we asked for applicants several occasions, and
I
we
know.
only had 2 guys show up, you know.
How does everybody
I don't
else
think it's fair
feel?
to them.
I just didn't know how well we publicized it. I mean, people may have saw it because we posted the agenda also. I mean,
Well, I know I've been talking to the fire department about it, so I certainly amplified that it's a position that's
Okay.
open, so.
good. That's good to know. Okay.
That's just my thought, but.
I'm gonna concur with that, because it's been out there for a while. We even asked for this to be put on sooner, okay? And we finally got it on the agenda, so that's why.
Thoughts?
I agree. I like the job description and the 2 candidates.
Okay.
The only point that I think in the spirit of encouraging people to participate, we got a couple of people at I assume these folks are rank and file members of the
Yes.
fire department. For those people to throw their hat in the ring, I would like to encourage that, and I agree with everything that's been said about this has been out there and we've waited long enough. So I'll go with the feeling of the board.
I kind of concur with you, Rich. I mean, if we hear from 2 more people, we can still make a decision next time of the 4. If the 2 even step up, it was a phone conversation this evening, probably at 5 o'clock at night.
Well, if they're serious.
Yeah. So he said he was gonna reach out to the 2 individuals and they can get back to me.
Who was the person that called you?
Lieutenant Hubbard,
Lieutenant Hubbard, from the fire department?
Fire Department, yep.
Okay.
Okay. Well, nonetheless, we can keep going. Do we have any more questions for John?
No, John understands it, he's been through hell.
Thank you, John.
And so
Appreciate
isn't
it.
Tom, don't worry. Tom?
Tom Schofield, step on up, please.
Thank you.
And I will say,
Welcome.
he's
Good to
been
see
through
you
it
here.
too.
Tom Schofield, 6 Parker Circle. I applied for this job because I did it for 10 years. I'm pretty familiar with the ins and the outs. Obviously, preparation is a huge part of the job, and when you execute, that's usually a few days worth of the job, and then the real work kicks in as far as going into the recovery stage and getting money back. Because you spend back what Rich said, if you're mentioning about real money, when you have an emergency like we did several years ago, we had a really bad Mother's Day flood, and we had an ice storm that took us down pretty hard. The town both years was in default budgets. We had no real money. We had no money. And so through working through the state and working through the feds with FEMA, I'm happy to report that we recovered every possible penny that we could have. Went through that paperwork, because the recovery in this job, the title of the job, I think recovery is huge, because we spend real money in a real fast pace, and then we wait a really long time to get that money back. The 2 years that we had the most major incidents were in default budgets, and we were able to, I don't want to say I'm going to say we were able to make sure every stone was not left unturned. We made sure we billed for backhoe hours, we billed for every public works truck, we billed for police cars that were parked at the high school for the warming station. We turned over every stone, went right up to and bumped the line. I didn't cross the line, but we balanced the books both those years on the Office of Emergency Management's recovered money from the federal government. So much so that I actually had Terry Brian help me compose a letter to the feds that read something to this effect, that I, Thomas B. Schofield, have filled out this paperwork to the best of my ability. I am not telling you it is error-free. What I am telling you is that I did the best I could with what I had to work with. And, she notarized it and stuff because we were subject to audits for 7 years. And I didn't want to be joining Bernie Madoff. And so I made sure that, we got everything. I mean, we got every drop of diesel fuel we burned, every police car. The snow plows, or the town snow plows, were pushing brush and everything off the road. We went for every dime we could get, and we got it back. So while I know that leading up to an emergency that we don't even know is ever going to happen, in managing through the emergency isn't so much the Office of Emergency Management. That's the police, the fire, the guys that are already in place, But the real part of this job is making sure we get everything that's coming to us. The guy who now holds a job at the state level is a pretty good friend of mine. So we have connections. I made sure that Litchfield, as small as we are, we didn't get buried. We weren't overlooked. Per capita, we probably got more money back than most towns and cities because they have big monies and they can float some of this stuff. We don't have any money. So I think what I bring to the party is that I've lived this a bunch of times. I was the emergency management director for nearly a decade. Not happy that the 2 biggest things fell during my watch, but they did.
It's called training.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I could do this job quite well. I think I've demonstrated in the past that I have done it quite well. I still have, like I said, a lot of connections, in emergency services that I can leverage when needed. If I'm chosen, I'll do the best possible job I can. As far as the job description, I would encourage you to make it broad at first, and then we should dial it in. And why I say that is because it's always been blurred together with the fire department. We, as a group, are about to embark upon something that is all new to us. I think that's something that the job description needs to be pretty fluid. I don't think, that's, again, my opinion. I think that if we can work together, like, if I get the job, one thing I am going to ask you guys, and I know it's ancient history, the way you guys don't do it today, but I would want a liaison, one of you 5. I want to have a direct go-to person. That was very helpful when I was the fire chief and I had Jack Pinciaro or whoever happened to be my liaison. I had someone I could call and bounce things off of and stuff. Because when an emergency happens, it's happening pretty quick. And, and just day-to-day stuff, because I don't know that you could really write a really good job. We could steal someone else's job description, but you're talking about towns that are huge and have tons of layers of management. This job description needs to be pretty fluid, because from one minute to the next, you're doing something different, whether it's working with, like, one time we got a big generator to the high school before we owned one. We got through the state, through Governor Lynch's office, we were able to get a generator from the Army to come down, and then we worked with a local electrician to wire the high school so we could start a warming station and stuff like that. So I think being resourceful is kind of a big deal during the event, but let's face it, most events are 3 to 7 days, but then the recovery is months, months, and months. And in the meantime, depending on when that emergency falls, you guys have to find the money to fund it. I'm gonna do my best to get as much back as I can. So I think that, if chosen, I can do the job well, and I think I could work with all of you who, and I don't know if you'd even entertain the idea of a liaison, but I think because this is all new to everybody in this room, it might make sense to keep that job description a little open and then dial it into what makes sense for Litchfield. Because if we steal one from Londonderry, and I went and looked at them all too, we're unique. I mean, if you're looking down from the space shuttle, Litchfield's a unique place, We're surrounded by these monster communities that suck up every dime and penny they can get, and we're left for the crumbs. And I just want to make sure that we got the whole loaf last time. So,
We do have a rep for emergency management.
cool,
We do, it's Rich now.
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Whoever, and I appreciate that you have that, because for a while, the selectmen had taken away our go-to person, and I believe that 2 heads is always better than 1, but I'd rather just have all 5 of us. But there are some times when split-second stuff needs to be made, or at least needs to be bounced off of somebody. Sometimes you just want that vocal conscience, someone saying, "What are you thinking?" Or, "Holy crap, that's a good idea." Either way is fine with me, but I just want to make sure that, I know there's 3 of us, me, myself, and I, but I'd rather have somebody else help.
Yeah, we built the whole emergency management team when we had to go back through and redo the plan. So we got all the department heads to be part of the group, and then we have a selectmen's rep on top of it. Then we have a rep
One
from-
thing we
have a
did
rep
when I
from
was the
school
emergency
also.
management director is we closed the town for a day, and we got the high school to donate the auditorium, and we got like Red Cross to come and make lunch. We had stations around, we brought in all the players, and we brought in the tax collector's office, and everybody who is anybody that might serve as a secretary might do this. We basically did a role play for an entire day at Campbell High School, showing people that, yeah, you may be registering cars yesterday, but today this might be what you're gonna be doing, because obviously we have very limited staff, and police and fire are already pretty busy, but we have a lot of really smart people. We have a bunch of people from the 55 and older that may wanna get involved a little bit, because they come with extensive backgrounds and all kinds of things that we need. And documentation in the very moment is very important, because when you fill out that FEMA paperwork, they're a stickler, and if you cross the Ts and dot the Is, you're getting the loaf. If you don't, you're getting the crumbs. So, and I don't mean to emphasize just getting your back money, but that is a huge thing when you're in a town like ours. We just don't have any.
Yep.
I mean, I'm watching you guys struggle right now with that tax cap thing. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And I have, in public opinion, public input, I'm gonna offer something on that, because I think I have something to offer. But for this job,
What's that, Alice?
Do we have plans in place for possible emergencies? For instance, we border on the airport, and if we had an airplane crash, do we have things in place for
We
that?
do. If you go back to the emergency management plan that was put in place 3 years ago, I'm thinking?
Yeah, like 5 years, because it's up now.
4 years, it's up, yeah.
We talked about that.
We've actually brought in a consulting firm, and we went through the whole entire thing. So if you point back to that, it's almost every type of emergency we may see because of what's surrounding around us.
We just try to tell them to crash in the field.
Well, I know that in the past, that's been certainly a consideration, if you think about things that could happen to us here.
one of our biggest hazards in town is 500 feet across the river called Merrimack. With wind currents, it's a problem for us in 5 minutes. And Merrimack administration has changed slightly, but I'm sure we even though before the bridge went in, we're really far from Merrimack, but we've always only been 500 feet away from the chemical plant that was over there and the train tracks that run through there and stuff. I think we always think about this side of the river. That side of our river is one of our biggest concerns, and I think that we sometimes think that river is like, we know it takes a long time to drive to Merrimack, but it doesn't take a long time for the wind to carry anything to us. and our schools are right along the same banks of the Merrimack River, the Griffin School. I mean, we have a tremendous amount of hazards in this town. I don't think emergency management during the event, but what are we doing in advance of the event to understand it and stuff like that? I haven't seen the plan that's, 2018 I haven't seen, but the other one, the big part of my plan when I worked on it was working with the schools. Because people leave their most prized possessions to us during the day and they go off to wherever they go off to, and those kids are still ours and we own those kids. And so, I haven't seen the plan. I would review the plan, but I will tell you, I will have a lot of opinions on the plan.
Understand Jason Brennan has a plan to build a wall down the middle of the river.
With the islands on our side.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
islands are on our side.
With that nice new Litchfield flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, do you have any comments or questions for Mr. Schofield?
I wanna thank you and John for being willing to step forward on this.
If I get beat out by John, I won't feel bad. But I don't want to be beat out by John. Do you think those work good? I thought they.
Oh, there's always an open time to talk to anybody.
Yeah, it's, but having that focal, like, every morning at 9, Monday morning, I knew that Jack was gonna be calling me because Pat Jewett was mad at me about something. So I knew every Monday morning to have my phone ready, so when Jack called, it was kind of comical, but it was still nice to have that, that dialogue.
Tom, she's listening.
Yeah, I know.
She's got an eye on you.
That's why I looked up when I said it.
No, she's right there. Right behind
Oh,
you.
yeah, I know. Oh, that's what I felt.
I will say, I had the chance to work with Tom on some of the icing that came down when the ice storm came through. It worked out good. We had a lot of power problems. The generator school was the best thing, and it worked out good. We put the one in there now, and what a difference that makes. It's not connected as we think when you go, we'll flick a switch. But the electrician knows we need him. He goes up there, he wires it a certain way, it's done. And it's a good way of doing things. As for the flood, hell no, I didn't have time. I had my boat out there.
It was quite an event.
I did.
I think we chased somewhere around 30 or 40, 400 or 500 gallon propane tanks down the Merrimack River.
I saw him go by.
We're just popping out of the golf course everywhere. It was just like, they looked like little submarines
Yep. They're pretty good. They floated for a long ways.
all the way to Lowell.
I had to go get my other boat and bring it in, and the gas tanks were going by it.
I never thought about that, but
Yeah.
you had a lot of LP gas tanks.
Yep. Luckily during gas emergencies, if you deal with LP companies for the most part, if you have Eastern, you have it forever because they own the tank in the ground. But what's good during an emergency, anybody will help. So if we could push in the Merrimack, we made them their problem. And if we couldn't push in the Merrimack, we kept them on our side. But all the gas companies chipped in with resources
yep.
and helped us get them out of the river. Because, I mean, you're talking, they literally are bombs. I mean, if you understand how fast propane expands, it boils at negative 45 degrees below zero. It boils.
And when it blows out, it's just a white flash, a white thing. The water, they actually were jet propelled going down the river that day, because half of it was in the water.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much. We
I-
greatly
I
appreciate it.
appreciate you
Thanks for throwing your
entertaining
name
me.
in there.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
You too, John. We appreciate it, all your efforts.
Thank you, John.
Again, I'll reiterate, I think we have two wonderful candidates. and
I think we have great candidates too.
I think these are the two to pick from.
And the reason why I say that, they're not tied up with a department. Okay? And that's what I'm looking forward to this.
Okay. Seeing that it's 7:08, we'll open it to public input. Do we have any members of the public that like to provide input this evening?
Come on up.
Come on back.
You could have sat there.
How have you been?
Well, it's been a while. Tom Schofield, 6 Parker Circle. I watch all the budget committee meetings and stuff, and I watch everything that goes on through warrant articles, and we're very respectful of the voter, you guys especially. You push a lot of warrant articles off for the people to make the decision. I think that once they make the decision and we vote for this stuff, I think the things they vote on at town meeting, whether it's anything, just like it would fall into a default budget, I think it should fall outside the cap. We are getting ourselves in a jam where health insurance alone is going to be taking our cap pretty soon. We have no cap. So it almost forces the budget committee and the board of selectmen, in my opinion, either to send less to us, the voter, and then we all lose because there's things we probably do need to buy. And I think that once the voter approves it, the tax cap, when they add up all the numbers, and if last year's town meeting results in a $50,000 increase, that 50,000 gets parked. That's not part of the cap, in my opinion, because that was individually voted on. I think, in my words, I would describe it as, I think you guys should entertain a housekeeping warrant article and/or find a way that that tax cap automatically stays with inflation. Because even if everything was equal this year, we're screwed by a lot of percent. And everything's not equal, and the voters voted on it. If they voted to buy that new highway guy, they voted to buy him from now, tomorrow, next year, next month, whatever. And so I don't believe that his salary and benefits should be hurting the department heads to get radios, fire trucks, police cars, road paving. I think that it's been a long time. We talk about the emergency plan since 2008. When was that cap put in? How many years ago? What has ever been done to it for maintenance? How about zero, I'm guessing?
Nothing. It was a fixed dollar value. What, if it was a percentage, it wouldn't be so bad.
was
But
a
being a
fixed
fixed
dollar.
dollar rate, it
It was,
hurts.
yeah, and that made sense back when that was probably done, because our budget was probably several $1 million less than it is today. So now all that's happened is that percentage, in essence.
Yes,
In this year, with inflation as high as it is, think about the decrease it is just this year alone if everything was equal. So I think you guys really need to make one of your warrant articles, and I know that they make you word them in a way that confuses everybody, but hopefully you can either hold some public hearings, do whatever to promote it, and make it seem like we're not trying to circumvent the cap, we're trying to hold the cap. I'm not sure I got all the answers to how to do it, but I think it needs to be done. And I think that, the budget committee, they're almost, you guys even to the point where, how can you say yes? Because you know that if your health insurance goes up, now in the back of your head, you gotta be saying, I better not support this warrant article because we're gonna run out of money to pay health insurance or dental insurance or whatever. So I think you guys really have your work cut out for you, but you got several months if you start dinging the bell. I would be happy if you guys figure it out. I know a lot of people. I will help promote it for you. I'll go to the 55 and oldest for you guys on behalf of you and promote it and say, look, here's the real deal. Because you're going to get the Facebook page, the Litchfield What's Up, whatever, and you're going to get slammed. But the reality is, it was well-intentioned, and it still can be a good product.
It has to be a percentage attached to that.
It's got to be changed. It's
If you look
killing
at
us.
just contractual, cost of utilities, cost of road salt, that puts us over the tax cap.
And that was not the intent of the cap. That exactly was not the intent of the tax cap.
Yeah. And now
No.
the health insurance came in at what, 7.6%?
11.7?
Was that?
11.7?
11.7, and then dental was only one.
And 11% of a large number. It's not
Yes.
like it's 11% of $100.
Yeah.
So that's my input. I think that you guys, we need to either redo the tax cap, find a way to suspend it for a year while we come up with a better plan. Something's got to happen, but you guys are you're going to be able to, you're going to become paralyzed. You're not going to be able to do your job.
We're paralyzed
Fully
right
agree.
now.
I think everybody sitting here feels the same way.
There's no way around this thing.
And the difference between us and the school, is the school could just put stuff in their budget. We can't, we can't do that.
Well,
Like
in
they
this
put-
case,
I think
right-
it was $50,000 for study for electrical buses, bringing electric buses in. As far as I know, nobody at the school drives an electric car, why should we buy electric buses? But they can put that in their budget. It's either in the budget, you vote the budget up or down, but it's in there.
Well, at this
Same
point-
thing with new positions. They put new positions in all the time, and there was a warrant article that said they couldn't do that without voter approval. Well, they got that not overturned, but turned to advisory. But the advisory to them means,
Thank
you
you.
know, just go away. So they do whatever they want. We are constrained. There's nothing we can do about it.
A
It's-
tax cap
it's the law.
should not be a fixed number. It should be a percentage each year as it goes.
And I'm a firm
Definitely do it
believer in a
even
tax cap. I think the school should have a tax cap.
But it has to be a percentage where
You
you're doing
have
it
to
both.
be very cognizant of the taxpayers' money. and
Yep.
how you
Well, at this
spend it.
point in time, we're almost better off for a default budget because you can put all that stuff legally in a default budget, but you can't be honest and put it in the real budget. Doesn't,
Yeah,
I
but
don't think that was the
but
intent.
That's deceiving to the taxpayers too, so I mean,
Right, but reality, right now, if you promote, I have to think that if you're doing your default budget, all those numbers have to be in there.
That's
The new
correct.
highway guy, the new this, the new that, it has to be in there.
Has to be in there.
So it's possible that our default budget could be more than our regular budget, and that wasn't even the intent of a default. The default was last year with a few adjustments.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is like, it's almost like a Christmas tree right now. Everything's pivoting on that little thing you hang the angel on. You know what I mean? The tree's upside down. The whole thing needs to be, the whole thing needs to be fixed, and I think you guys have the ability to do it, and it's not even Halloween yet, so you guys can get this on the ballot, and I don't know how you title it, but it really is just simply housekeeping. And most people can equate it because their own budgets are turned upside down, that same Christmas tree effect.
We are all going through it with just the fuel costs, electric costs, water costs,
All utilities.
okay? Yep.
Nope, so, thanks for listening.
Thanks,
Thank you, Tom, appreciate it.
I like your input.
Any other members like to provide input? Mr. Brunel's back.
You brought up a topic that's been driving me crazy,
Which topic's that?
tax cap.
Tax cap.
So, John Brunel, 6 Bear Run Drive. So I was a member of the board when the tax cap was created and presented. When it was originally created, it was a percentage. We got feedback that indicated that the percentage people would not understand the percentage. They thought it was too big. That's where the fixed number came into play. I don't think anybody on the board at the time thought that fixed number was gonna be what's happening now, right? I don't think we could have foreseen it. But when we were selling the idea and when we learned about how the mechanics were, it was always, at least I'll say my own belief, and the notes that I have from those meetings and the presentation we presented at deliberative seems to read that the voters have the right to override it. In the sense of, if we put something to warrant and they approve it and we clearly state this is what it's gonna cost year over year, whatever it is, that would be calculated as part of the next year's calculation. Now, we've done ourselves some, we've created a problem when we've done the whole $0 raise, that's where the problem comes out. But the ones that we actually lay out that, like, example, the SRO officer. It costs us $9,000 in the first year, but year after that, it'll be $58,000, blah, blah, blah. To me, the voters approved the $58,000. They knew, this year was gonna be $9,000, this was a tax impact, but they knew it was gonna be $59,000 or $58,000. That should be the calculation. And I think DRA is saying that's not the calculation, because the way they read it through is that it's based on what we raise for the tax limitation. I think the tax cap has gone completely sideways. It's pretty much crippled us in doing anything that we need to do. This year is an example. We got by last year because revenues looked good. Things improved, but now we get this problem where we don't have the revenues where they need to be, or they're where they are normally, and we get these huge increases. Even in my own budget alone, I'm seeing 25, 26, 27, 28%, increases over certain line items. Can't sustain it. I think the tax cap should either be, either we should go back to maybe for, a legal decision that says if we are calculating it right and we're reading it right, because like I said, my notes say we're not. But then, I'm a layperson, I took the people's words and this is how I figured it out, and the examples showed it that way, and I went, that makes sense. We can, if people approve it. I was thinking like Prop 2.5 down in Mass.
Yeah.
You don't like it, you vote it, that becomes rule, right? Same way, and when I talked to people about it, when we were selling, I was like, just think about Prop 2.5. You have the right to overrule. If you want it because you think it's justful, even though the budget committee can't approve it because it's above the tax cap, you can say yes, and now we need to consider that going forward. So like Tom said, we're in a tough situation, and it is weird that the default could be include some of those numbers because their contracts are required, but we can't put it in the calculation. So again, when the board did it, we thought it was a great idea to help control spending. And sort of set a boundary or a line for the budget committee to kind of keep in control. I think it's backfired. And, going back to a percentage may make sense if we keep it, but maybe it's time to abolish it and consider just, on the town side, I think we've done a really good job maintaining our budget as best we can. There are factors we can't do, but our budgets are pretty clear. You know where every dime is going. We don't have the days of all the contingency funds and all that. Those were all gone.
Yeah.
Those were all stripped before we did this.
We stripped a few years, went back to zero-based budget and told everybody to come back.
But even when I came on board, there was contingency money, piles of money every year left around. We stripped that all away, and we got down to, you need 25 pencils, you're getting 25 pencils. You're not buying 100, you're buying 25. And naturally there's growth, because there has to be, but the cap is a problem. So, but anyway, that's where it came, that's why I accepted it, or at least was in favor of it, but it's gone crazy.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Any other members like to provide input? Come on up. Good to see you.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Hello, everybody. All right. How are you? My name is Wayne Caulfield. I'm I'm the co-owner of Mel's Funway Park.
Yes, you are.
Litchfield, New Hampshire. And thank you for hearing me out tonight. What had happened is this particular weekend, our neighbors started parking again. I just want to state for the record that Mel's does not, is not here to say that they can't park. That's between, if anything, what I'd like to do is I would like offer to help them park in I think there's some things that, I did reach out to, Inspector Blackwell last night. I did send a video last night, and there are people walking up and down Route 3A, and it's very dark. And the video will showcase that if anyone cares to see it from Inspector Blackwell. I did approach some of the residents. They would, I think we need a buffer between us in terms of, I just think it's a safety issue. I think it's such a simple fix that all they need to do is walk people in their yard, and we are willing to cut like a patch on Strawberry Lane and allow people to come in. That way you just don't have any patrons on 3A. And I just think they need some lighting out there if they're gonna go ahead and park, because it is a safety issue, and, I think that nobody wants to see anybody get injured or even killed on Route 3A. I think it's not good for the homeowners, it's certainly not good for the brand Spooky World if that injury happens. And it's also not good for the town, now that we've brought this to light, that people are walking up and down 3A.
I thought we did too.
Yeah.
I thought we did that
I thought we
last-
shut down the
last year,
parking
didn't we?
at all the
All off-
houses down the way because they weren't permitted
We
for
did.
it.
That was reason with the planning board did that decision-making. I took it, I'm sorry, you called me, I guess,
That's
but the
okay,
number
yeah.
I didn't agree.
Yeah, I was looking for Jeff's
Okay.
number to text
I
him.
know, I'm
No,
sorry,
that's
but
okay.
it's a family
Nope.
problem.
That's fine,
But, I came in today, I spoke to Jeff about it,
sure,
okay, and spoke to the administrator,
okay.
and they're looking at what needs and can be done.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Jeff was great. He was very responsive, responded
Yep.
right away, first thing this morning, you know what I mean? I sent him an email last night. First thing this morning, we got the response, and that's
We shut it
good.
down before because of safety hazards also. I mean, you guys do a good job of routing everything through the cornfield, through the
Yeah, we
back,
really
nobody's
have it
on the road.
perfected well. I'm not saying that you have to shut them down. No, we're not saying that. I don't care.
Yeah, you just
We
want
want
it
to
to be
keep
safe.
neighbors to be safe.
Possible
and-
modification.
and It's such a simple fix, honestly. Just have them cut across their front lawn. Do not have patrons walking down through it,
Put
3A.
up a light.
And lights, yes,
yeah.
that too. So that's all I just wanted to say. I'm asking for everybody's help in this to kind of figure out a common, like a practical solution to a problem
Yeah.
that can be fixed, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's all we're saying here at Mel's Fenway. Mel's Fenway Park and Spooky World, so. Sorry, I'm a little tired here. So I think that's it, just if there's some way to,
Lighting is a big thing. I know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was going north on 3A, and I noticed there was a very bright light that was shining in my face, okay, coming down. And I thought, boy, that's kind of an odd place for the light, because it was low. And I went to Manchester, and then I came back. And as I was coming back, a person pulled out from exactly where that light was.
Yes.
And I had to slam on my brakes to keep from hitting that person. And then I thought, you know what the deal was? That person was looking right at that light. And he couldn't see me coming down the street.
Yeah.
So lighting is such a big, so important. And, no matter, up to this point, if you're coming from the north and you're coming down, of course, you're going downhill, so there's a tendency kind of for people that don't understand what's going on to speed up. And no matter what you do, it seems like it's still dark,
Yeah.
Blue lights don't tell you, 'cause they're blinding.
And that's true, in a way, that the police lights
Whoa.
harm the situation. Not saying that we don't need them,
No.
but,
LEDs are gone, okay?
Yes. We were approved by the planning board for a new lighting plan, which will be in effect before our
It
town
all
fair.
boils down with direction of the lighting coming down and going. That's what
Yeah.
we're referring to.
Yes,
Yeah,
we will
the-
be
We're all
redoing
justified.
all of our lights at all of Mel's Fenway Park within the next 2 years, from the time of the approval, so.
Yeah.
And that's all done by, that's not done by us, that's just engineers who do that, so.
that's key.
So any of those problems. So we just don't wanna see anybody hurt or injured, and it's just, it's,
We appreciate that.
we don't want any customers getting hurt. We don't want any headlines saying that, something bad happened at Spooky World, that's all. All right, well, thank you for hearing
Oh, I have
us.
a
and-
question.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
May I ask
Oh,
a
yeah,
Sure, of
any other
course.
questions?
So, yeah, I know you've been through the planning board
Yeah.
many times.
No.
No. And your parking's fine, but what is happening? They're parking on neighboring homes and walking down 3A?
Yes, 446 Charles Bond back,
244 and 246.
Croft
I
Highway,
think
and
it is.
442. First
Yep.
it was 446, the previous weekend.
Between
that
Wayne's
was-
house and the place.
So they're not using your
And now
parking?
there's two neighbors parking, which again is fine. We want to keep the peace and keep neighbors happy and go ahead and let them make their money. That's fine, you know what I mean? Before, there was, there were issues before. We don't really care.
We did.
We just want it to be safe.
parking, we
It really has to be safe.
But I thought we did.
We did.
We shut that down.
We did, and all the neighbors were spoken to, and they weren't supposed to do it, and they haven't done it for the last
No,
2 years?
yes, a couple of
Probably,
years.
probably the last 2 years.
Yeah, at least 2 years. Oh,
They're not supposed to
It's not
really
really
be
an
doing it.
ordinance, it's just
Yeah.
a.
I think it'd be permanent to be parking.
What did Troy say?
I
It's
do
in-
believe it is at least in
If it wasn't approved- If it wasn't
2019,
approved parking, we.
town administrator
Thank you.
Brown sent
That's my
letters to
understanding.
all three.
They went to
Yes.
that change.
And yes, he was stating it was.
An
So,
ordinance?
It's an ordinance violation, yeah.
Yes, for commercial parking.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
For
That
that
makes sense,
use.
all right.
Not for this use.
So they're not using
Two
your
uses
parking?
going on. That's what it boils down to.
Well, like I say, I just hope that they're walking people down in front of the house this weekend, that's all. You know what I mean? If they just choose to park or do whatever, that's fine by us. You
Don't
can't
let it
stop them.
snow next time we have.
No. Thank you, everybody.
We've had
Any
that
other
happen one
questions?
night.
Anything else? Thank
No,
you.
thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Nice
very
seeing you
much.
again.
Thank you, nice seeing you too.
Pull them up.
It's nice not having attorneys like
I know, huh?
An engineer.
All by yourself? Have a good night, be well. Are there any other members of the public that'd like to provide input this evening? Hearing none, we'll close public input. Next up, we have snow removal contract, Dalton Farms, 2022 to 2024. Ms. Kleiner.
So, Kevin Brown brought this by today. This is for two changes to note from last year's contract. Number one, it's an increase from $23,000 to $25,000 a year. That is mainly due to increase in fuel costs. But the second is they are asking for a 2-year contract versus a 1-year contract.
Okay.
And that's more to keep the costs stable, both for them and for the town.
Very good.
They are on a list of preferred vendors, as you know, and the cost is split over 6 payments throughout the year.
That's actually better. Thanks.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same price he's held, it's just the increases for the
Fuel
increased
costs,
costs in
yep,
fuel,
that's
which
exactly.
is understandable.
I talked to Kevin
Andy-
today about it too, and he said, that's what's happening.
Yep.
It's all about fuel cost.
And you'll hold the same price for both years?
For both
He
years.
will.
Yep.
I don't, do you see where it says that on here? I don't see where it says that.
2-year you're referring to?
Yes.
Just the
It
title
just says
here.
2022 to 2024 snow plowing season.
Top,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So that's, so it is, he's talking about a 2-year period.
Yep.
yes, this winter and next winter.
But, so we could anticipate next year, November, December, January, and February, the same payout.
Correct, correct.
Okay, that wasn't clear to me, but yes. I have to say that Eddie Dalton does a real good job. He cuts the grass at Griffin, and I watch him do it, and he is very diligent in what he does.
he does the snow removal for them also.
He does a real good job.
Yep.
I make a motion, we accept this proposal.
A second?
We have a motion by Mr. LaSalle, second by Mr. Leary. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Leary?
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
Ms. Queenan?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we have Storm Management MS4 Compliance and Update. Ms. Kleiner?
So, I think we, discussed this permit before, it was actually due, the end of September. They tried to contact Mr. Brown, and they did contact, Kevin and let him know. We reached out to the state on my first day, October 3rd. And they walked us through a lot of what needs to be done in order to be in compliance, most of which Troy Brown had already started working with CEI, the contractor. So there's a number of pieces that are already done. The state suggested that I reach out to Ms. Wong, who is with the EPA. I did that. They have granted us an extension to submit the report. There's a few more administrative items that I'm working on with Jeff Blackwell. They're more surrounding construction, some zoning type of pieces to it, and just some basic postings and letters and notices that we need to get out to individuals that we're dealing with. So one of them is this letter that has been submitted to you, and this is a construction. So this is just a fact sheet, and there's a fact sheet that goes behind the letter, and all you're doing is you are notifying any potential builders, and this is anything over an acre that does affect stormwater, of the general rules of what they call the construction general permit. So between Mr. Blackwell and myself, we've listed a number of people that have either done work with us in the past year or so, or people who are scheduled to go before the planning board, and we'd like to issue these letters, and then we'll work on the couple of remaining pieces to close out the audit.
Common procedure with this, it's a common procedure. It's like each year you register your car but a certain way. One thing, also in this, I would talk to your town engineer as well. Okay, he's very familiar with that as well.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have cable operator pay. Ms. Kleiner.
So, this evening, Mr. Brunel has, come, and I think we need to address an item, and that is the cable operator pay, for within the town. I can tell you from my experience, having dealt with this and just most recently in the past, in my prior job, this is an issue throughout, the area. These individuals do a great job, but they only work a minimum amount of hours, and it's very hard to keep people retained for just a few hours a week. So it's really about how you retain this help for what is an important service of keeping us on the air. So, Mr. Brunel.
Yeah, so thank you.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I've come up here more times today than I usually do. So today we have a couple different folks or staff members in the cable. We have our station manager, who you know is Russ. We have camera operators who are both editors and videographers. One example is Oscar. And what I'm focused on right now is really the role that Oscar kind of plays in some of his peers. One of my challenges is that we can get folks to do it, but we can't seem to retain them. And predominantly, I feel that issue is based on how we pay. And so today, our operators are paid on 2 different scales. One is $14 an hour, and the other one is $18 an hour. They're guaranteed a 2-hour minimum for anything they're scheduled for. During this time of the season, meetings are plenty, and the meetings run long, and it's great. come the springtime and the summertime, meetings are far and few, right? And so I've already, I had, at the beginning of this calendar year, I had 2 primary operators. I had Oscar and another person. We went through all the training. The other person liked what he's doing, but he said, I need to make money, and I went to go work at Costco. And so he now dropped away. Good for him. He needs to do that, right? So what I'm asking is to kind of change the way we pay. And my thoughts was this, and it's completely open for discussion. We schedule the operators weekly. If they're on the schedule, what I'd like to do is if they're assigned on the schedule, they would make a base pay, let's call it $150 for the week. And then they would be paid their hours above that. So if they're here working for 3 hours, they'd get the 3 hours. They get their hours they work at their hourly rate. So they start at $150 an hour, or $150 as a base. And then if they work, if they were to work 10 hours, which is typically the maximum amount of hours we typically have in a week in operators, we're talking about $180 on top of that, right? So we're looking at, roughly, $17,000 a year for one operator if they worked every hour. Oscar is one our operator here is our one example who probably works every night and every meeting. So he'd be the worst case. If I had other operators, which I don't right now, I've lost the other one I had, and I have Russ who backs up once in a while, they would share in it too. So again, the way it would work from my perspective would be if I'm available this week, they get on the schedule and they have one meeting in that schedule, they get the base of $150. They attend the meeting, it happens, they get the 2-hour minimum, and anything above that, like they always did. Now we just give them a little more reward for the work they've done. An example of a meeting, a 2-hour meeting, we're talking about $28. If that's all the meetings they work, they get $28. And after taxes, we know what that is. It's $23. So this all the wages are funded by the franchise fee. So there's no tax impact. There's no change at all as far as the taxpayer goes. That comes from the money that we receive from the franchise agreement plus what we get quarterly. We roughly receive, and it really hasn't reduced any over the last couple of years, which I'm very surprised. About
Very surprising.
15
People cutting the cord, you figure that number we're getting would definitely go down.
55 and older, they're keeping you alive.
Yeah, and they're the ones that and again,
Yeah, they gotta
people
go.
are consuming it on those channels, and it's all good, but we're receiving about $15,000 to $16,000 a quarter, so we're not hurting for the money, and if it helps me retain, I would hope that you folks would support it.
It'd make no tax impact back then.
There is no tax impact.
It'll be coming out of the income that
No.
we get from Comcast.
Right. Now, I can't, I'd be remiss if I didn't say it. At some point in time, we have to consider a tax impact because the franchise fee will drop, but this
Definitely.
this is a service that the whole community takes advantage of, and
Get rid of the tax
we want to
impact.
continue it. But right now,
Not this year.
I don't foresee over the next couple of years it being an issue. We roughly, we have $111,000 in the franchise, in the fund today. I think we may have just received our capital. There was a
Last
last month, was it?
16,000 we got last month. The
No,
quarter
I
went
saw a
down there.
$60,000 deposit. I gotta go find out what that is.
Recently?
Yeah, I don't know where it came from. Yeah, May.
Oh, yeah, that would have probably been the franchise, but that was, a few
Yeah.
months back.
So we have that, but we have $111,000 in there. We get 16,000 a quarter, so we're not anywhere near, just the franchise fee alone will pay for the operators, even if I had more than one operator. So, again, I'm looking for,
$16 we pay to go to McDonald's.
well, that's, right, so, I do
Reality
have,
test here.
we have a split, wage rate. We have a 14 and 18. 18's for the person that does a lot of editing and videography. 14 is just purely just an operator, doesn't do much other than that. But like I said, I can't retain people and I can't attract people. They're going to Dunkin' Donuts, they're going other places, they're guaranteed more hours. Because I can't guarantee any hours at all.
When you see Dairy Queen giving a sign-on bonus, you know it's bad.
Yeah.
Is it Blizzards?
$100, they had a $100 sign-on fee.
Better buy some Blizzards.
Yeah, buy a lot of Blizzards.
it's the economics of the whole thing, the way the economy is right now. Since the COVID thing came in, all this has changed and everything else. Reality is, you can't keep anybody. I know a lot of places can't.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, and as far as the mechanics go, it may be a little more difficult for payroll to deal with it, because they have to get, I have to basic knowledge they were on the schedule, that's how they get it. If they weren't on the schedule, they fill in, they just get the hours, you know what I mean, so.
We'll train Karen.
No, it's,
Why
well, it's
didn't
really,
you
it's,
put on that?
it's actually Heather, and Heather and I have a fairly good,
I know Heather,
we,
but-
we do the payroll pretty well.
We have to teach Karen
consistently, so. We're gonna teach Karen how to do it
Karen's got
again.
enough to do.
No, I'll be the back door figuring out if it's,
I know, I know.
eligible for whatever else and anything else.
Yeah,
and-
there you
Right,
go.
right. So like I said, and the 150s, it was my swag. I'm obviously open for suggestions, but, that's what my request is.
God.
If we can't retain them, we're gonna lose the service, right? If you can't get workers, eventually we're not gonna be able to,
We are,
Do the meetings.
right.
unless you start coming in yourself doing it, and you do enough.
And I will do that if it has to happen. I do think it's an important service, and like I said, it's non-tax impacting right now, I get it. So that's why I think it's probably not a tough thing to say yes to, but understand that down the road, within 4 to 5 years, it will become a tax burden, because we will have to pay people to do the job, and we don't have franchise fees anymore. That's somewhere along the line, that's gonna end. I was quite pleased when Comcast was so amenable to anything I asked for, and I was
Yeah.
surprised, so. But we'll take advantage of it when we can.
By now, I thought the revenues would be going down.
I think they went up, because I think the one time they were running around 13, and now I think the last one I saw was 16 or 15 and change.
What?
13,000 was the franchise fee, I thought, last year, and then I thought it went up this year.
I'd say 15. I don't think it's.
And I thought it was like 13 when I originally looked at it, that's why I was curious. That was last year, though.
Probably raised everybody's rates, so.
But we do a percentage, that's a good point, we do a percentage, and our percentage is still pretty low, we can go up anytime we want, but we were at 5, I think we're at 2.5 right now, I think is what we're set at,
I think that's what it was last time it came to us.
so.
Thoughts?
I have no problem with it. Makes sense.
It doesn't have a tax impact, I mean,
Right.
it's,
And the way things are going, it's like every place else is going through the same thing. You gotta hold him somehow. If this works, he gets what he needs, it's better for the town.
Oscar, are you gonna stay?
Don't put him on the spot.
Well, I know the $150 is to put gas in that Camaro, so.
I'm gonna burn him out, he's doing 5 weeks of meetings every day, every week.
Yeah. See him
He's
off?
not dating.
I don't have a problem with that.
I have no problem.
No, I was surprised about the $150. That's like 10 hours of pay, right? Guaranteed is what we're saying, right?
Yep.
So if they
Yeah,
only
that's
work 2
good.
hours, they're getting 10
If they're
hours.
on the schedule, they get if they don't go on the schedule, they just fill in because they had time, they're just gonna get the hours, but if they're on the pre-schedule, they would get the $150.
Yep.
Meaning they're making themselves available, that's the point.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
They
giving
can
them
plan.
incentive to do it, to jump onto the schedule.
I mean, it's not uncommon, I mean, he'll get texts from me going, they canceled, put in for 2 hours, and it's like, that's 2 hours he gets, but it would have been a 4-hour meeting, so there you go, right?
Yeah.
It's like, now he's at $28 versus whatever. I didn't wanna go to I was thinking about a flat fee per meeting, but I didn't think that was gonna work out very well, cause some meetings are really, really short, and some
Yeah,
meetings are
another
really,
one's
really long,
long,
so,
so, yeah.
so.
And the nature of the people that you have are young people who are fairly transitory, but the money means something.
It does.
Pays the gas.
Someone had asked me too, Rich, that, well, what about getting kids out of the school to come in and do it? We can get kids to film school presentations, concerts, sporting events, but come here and sit here for 3 hours and listen to us all drone on? No. And I don't think this operator is actually listening to us. I think he's listening to music.
Well,
in his
yeah, you
headphones.
definitely, I was gonna say that, yeah. You see him bobbing his head back there. a
He's
little
told me he's learned more about this town by sitting in here.
He does, and he does, and he's an example of someone who does a real good production where he's focused on speakers and different things, and he brought the idea up. If you've gone to our YouTube channel, everything is chaptered. So every major topic that's brought up, he chaperonized, so you can quickly go to those spots.
Yep.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
a lot of
I've
people,
really enjoyed
are
that
like,
feature.
and that was something he brought to the table, and he's been doing it, and it's consistent, which is nice, right? Anything we do, my whole messaging, it has to be consistent and easy to do, and he's got it written down where it can be done.
That's worked out good for me trying to find stuff, the meeting stuff, because I'm not one of these people that likes these things. I'll be the first person to tell anybody that.
Yep, just follows the agenda, anything more newsworthy, he'll add to it too,
Yep.
just add a little color to it. So,
I'm comfortable with it.
I am.
Yeah,
yeah, and I don't know if it requires a motion, because it's not part of the tax base,
Yeah.
but definitely I want your support in it.
I'm all set to agree with the cable committee.
Anybody object?
I don't.
That's probably the easiest question.
Good way to do it? Nope.
Right?
Okay?
Good.
No, you're also okay with that too? All right.
I can't tell you you're good. He can. He's chair.
You're all good.
You're good? Well, I was asking Kim.
Thanks
she-
for being
she thought we had-
creative.
I was asking your town administrator, if she thought we should make a motion to make it official, but I'm not sure that you need to where it's not tax impacting.
Why don't we do this? We'll make a
I would.
motion, okay, to cover in case something comes
Yeah.
up.
I make a motion that we follow the plan as outlined by
John Burrow.
Mr. Brunel.
We have a motion by Mr. LaSalle, second by Mr. Leary. All those in favor, Mr. Leary?
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
Ms. Queenan?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you for your support.
Look at her,
Thanks,
first
John.
meeting, and she's keeping us on the straight and narrow.
Gotta like it.
I like the way you said, you looked up and go, she's been here before.
CYA. Next, we have the resignation of Master Patrol Officer Christopher Underwood. Ms. Kleiner.
Yes, so, we received this, just at the end of last week. And of course, as always, we'd wanna thank him, for his service, but we submitted it to the board.
Correct. Hate to see us lose another valuable officer. Do we have a motion to accept his resignation?
No.
So move.
Motion by Mr. LaSalle,
Second.
second by Ms. Queen, and all those in favor, Mr. Leary.
No.
I'm the same.
Mr. LaSalle,
Aye.
Mr. Lynch,
Damn. Yes.
Ms. Queenan.
Aye.
I am an aye. Motion carries 4-0-1.
Thanks, Bob.
Could you please send him a note of thanks for his service? Thank you.
They watch the movie, you'll see what I feel.
Yeah, I hate to
He
see
is.
him
I hate to see
I
him
know,
go, yeah.
I know.
Next, we have ethics policy. I believe we'll pass this one to Ms. Queenan.
Do you wanna do the budget first? It'll be shorter.
Let's do this. The budget's, I think it's gonna take us a little while.
Okay. I see Nikki's here. Good. I didn't know you were not.
Oh,
coming,
that's
so I'm
okay.
gonna have to have- I'm gonna pass these out. Don't trip on the cords.
Look at this.
This is ethics or budget?
Ethics.
Didn't we give you a limit on budget to buy paper?
Here's the laws. Here's what we'll go through.
Jeez.
Well, we can skim. We don't have to go through them, they'll just be a reference. Here's the laws.
Karen,
Yeah,
do we have any cold water,
I'll go get you one.
Another one?
please?
Yes.
Thank you.
I have one.
All right, bud?
Yeah, I'm just thirsty.
Want some of mine? I don't have foodies.
Should bring it.
Can you buy?
These are the laws that you asked about. You could just use this for reference. This is what we forwarded today.
Thank you.
We're really gonna go over only a couple of things in here.
I hope so.
I know.
I know you like detail.
I wanna just get my thoughts out
moly.
and
Should we order pizza?
you know these inside and
That's
out.
gonna remind us to read this.
And then we'll go over these.
Downstairs.
Watch the cord.
We're coming in, Keith.
These are the laws for reference.
Thank you.
And this is what we'll go through.
Kevin's complaining because there's no pictures.
You'll be lost for a while.
Oops, I pulled your stuff there.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's not like the news. Everything you see news is nothing but a picture.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
say we're gonna go to the budget first?
No, ethics, right? I'm glad you're here.
Oh, you're most welcome.
We're glad you're here.
We've actually been talking about this for a while.
Yeah.
I know Rich and I had talked about this a couple of years ago, and
we
Steve
both-
and I have had conversations, and,
Yeah,
A couple of years in the making.
but a little kick in the rear end doesn't hurt anything, so thank you.
so, why don't you open up your blue folders? We're gonna go through a couple of things. I'll do this because I know people can't hear me too well. So, I was assigned to work on an ethics committee when I first joined, or at least look into an ethics committee when I first joined the Board of Selectmen. It's taken a long time. The reason it's taken a long time is I've looked through a lot of different towns' committees. And this matrix here, which is the first one on your right-hand side, is what we're gonna go over, is what's in this book and how we weeded this down to the few select, that if we are gonna do it, what it means. So if you look at the spreadsheet on the right-hand side, you can see on the top column, the town, the year that we were formed. You're gonna notice some people have many different things named: conflict of interest ordinance, conflict of interest committee, code of conduct, code of ethics and standards of conduct, code of ethics ordinance, ethics and conflict of interest ordinance. Some people embed them in the Board of Selectmen rules. Some of them are in the land use rules when you get into the zoning and planning and heritage commissions. There's ethics policies, Board of Ethics, and ethics committees and commissions. So everybody decided to call them different names. So we had to go through and figure out what that meant. So we started with this spreadsheet, as you can see. Yes means that town has these documents in place, okay? We'll review that in a minute. So I'm gonna put that to a side for a second. Last time I passed out this good versus evil to the meeting.
Yep.
I'm just gonna review it for Nikki, who's here, because I don't think she was here that time. I'm trying to remember. Oh, you did? Okay, I'll just go through the 2 pages and read the one summary, and this whole section goes away. So, what's happening is, some of these ethic policies, the overall framework that we're dealing with, is they're trying to legislate morality. In society, morality has changed over the years, and what one person thinks is moral, someone else may not. And ethics are also subjective. What one person thinks is ethical, somebody else may not. So what I might think is good, somebody may think is evil. What somebody thinks evil, I may think is good. So, page 2 is morals and ethics are related to right and wrong conduct. Morals refer to an individual's own principles regarding right and wrong, and ethics refer to rules provided by an external source, such as codes of conduct or workplace principle, religion, like payroll. We have a handbook for our employees here, that kind of thing. The reason I'm telling you the difference between that and ethics policy is the word ethics is in the ethics policy. And I said that we must always here point at an existing RSA law. And I give 2 examples on the next page at the bottom. I circle one. At the bottom of the page, I'm just going to read 2 examples of the end of these ethic policies, then we're going to move on to the actual law. At the end of this, page 6 of 7, it says, after this goes through this whole ethics policy, it says, written recommendations, the Ethics Committee shall have no authority to remove any person from his or her office or position of employment, or to impose any other penalty on this section, but shall determine on the record whether the violation of ethics code has occurred. The result of each adjudicative process shall be a written recommendation with specific findings to the appropriate town council or body, whether the violation ethics occurred, whether there is remedial or punitive action should be taken, and the recommendations shall be signed off by all members of the committee who voted. But basically, it goes to the Board of Selectmen in this town. And when we're gonna talk about legally what would happen after that. That was the town of Northampton. And the second one that you have is just to show you Dunbarton, who we were going to model our town after. It says, within 30 days of concluding an investigation into a written complaint, the Ethics Committee shall issue a written statement forth of its findings. The Ethics Committee shall not have the power to impose any monetary or penalty, only to issue a written statement set forth above. Okay? So we can put that whole packet aside. So during my first time, some people saw me at the town hall in the back room going, why is she digging through all these books? Hi, Karen. Well, I found out back in 2010 is we actually had a warrant article that failed about an ethics policy. There was, that's in your, that was behind here on your left-hand side of your folder, after what I just read. 630 people voted for the, 636 people voted for the ethics policy, and 996 did not. And that is the ethics policy sort of on the side of what they did. But I'm just saying, 12 years ago, it failed. You also have under that what we do have in town. Litchfield on this matrix only has one item on this matrix called a conflict of interest ordinance, and I enclosed what it is here. You'll notice some of the names are familiar. So we have this, it's not online, but I know John is still working on posting all of these policies. But here it is here. So I'll make a recommendation at the end to look at this, see what other towns are doing. It's a little obsoleted at this point. That'll be one of my recommendations. But this is in effect right now, 1982.
You can call it a law.
Does it have to do with conflict of interest with like land holding and things like
That we're gonna get into that next. There's gonna be one.
that's how some of the towns are?
Yep. Okay, so we did have one, is all I want to say on that part. I'm only going to read two of these things on the left. You can refer to the law here if you want it. Here, I write them on the documents we're reading. So on the left-hand side still, we're not going to read these whole things, but what I wrote in little bubbles here, because that pretty much sums up the papers. Just my
Oh, the
my
black and white,
highlights.
okay.
Still on the left.
You have colors.
Oh, I had to, well, yeah, the 50 cents a page at Staples, I am not paying. Did you get black and white?
Yeah, I'm used to it.
Okay,
Thick paper, too.
yeah, it was good paper.
Very thick paper.
All right, so we all are familiar with New Hampshire Municipal Association. We go there for some of our training. And these articles come from them about ethics policies and all of these other things here, the conflict of interest ordinance. So the first one is called Keep It Simple. If you're going to make one, make it simple. But I'm going to just read, basically the summation of this is, an ordinance may also establish conditions from office. However, actual removal must be by petition to the Superior Court and cannot be ordered by the Selectmen or any municipal body. The RSAs in this article are 3139, Conflict of Interest Ordinances of the Town. They're in here. There are optional provisions for city. We don't care about the city because we're a town. Nashua cares about the city, Concord, Dover, the kind of thing. Incompatibility of offices is another one that we can always reference in our articles. And always consult an attorney. About the third page in. Yeah, it's basically what I just said. Removal has to be done. So if you read that article and the RSAs that are here, which are pretty simple articles, basically it's saying you cannot remove anyone. And that's considering, the title of that is Considering an Ethic Ordinance, Stick to Simple Values and Principles. And by that it means we already have New Hampshire law you can point to. You don't have to go out and have an ordinance, point to those laws. Let's look at the second one that they have. And then I think this will sum up where we're going with this matrix and your decision if we want to go forward. So you have the second one from the NHMA on the left-hand side with the big bubble on it? Yep. There's really 5 points of this one. New Hampshire is not a home rule state. Despite our political tradition of local control, New Hampshire Constitution does not grant any power directly to municipalities. Our municipalities only have authority to act if the state legislature gives it to them through the statute, which means if we can't point to an RSA to remove somebody, we cannot do it. It mentions these RSA here's about how to disqualify a member for land use boards. That's one of the things that you were talking about, right? I was surprised conservation wasn't on that as a land use board. It's everybody else. It's Heritage Commission, zoning and planning, but conservation, I was surprised.
It's odd because my feeling that the planning board, the land use boards won't act if the conservation doesn't give them input.
Yeah.
So they should be part of that system.
But if the law, if you read the RSA, it does not mention them.
Maybe we gotta talk to a legislator or two.
All right, so reasons why we're gonna find this is not a good idea to do a ethics policy, but if you are, they're gonna give you ways to do it. Next page. Number one is our Constitution and it doesn't allow us to do it. Number two, there's gonna be problems with the ethic ordinance I'm gonna talk to you about. Despite the clear limits of this statute, local ethic ordinances often include unauthorized provisions such as authorization to create local ethics board or a committee with authority to investigate complaints and to punish or remove employees, officials for their violations. Legally, a local ethics committee could be established to offer non-binding advice to the selectmen or to other officials regarding the alleged ethics violations, but not remove the municipal officers. And we get into these RSAs that are here, and RSA 3139A is quite clear in providing that only the Superior Court can remove an official under these provisions. Another unauthorized item that usually gets introduced in ethics policies is declarations that certain operations of ethics committees are exempt. So what happens if we have to go into RSA 91A, the right to know law, is some ethics policies don't fall under that. So now you have a problem.
Question.
Yeah.
In here it refers to removing someone. Does not reappointing someone the same thing as removing them?
No?
No. Because we have the right to appoint when it comes up.
So if we do not reappoint someone,
Right.
Correct.
Right.
we can do that.
Yep, they serve at the will here, yep.
Okay.
I believe we have.
All right, I'm gonna go to page 4.
I don't think we have.
In your travels here through the literature, in a small town where, some people are related to 80% of the town, I won't mention any names, but,
I won't point.
does it define what a close family member is and what isn't?
Yeah, the nepotism will come in to play, and you can put that in your code of ethics if you'd like to. It is a state law as well. We're gonna get into, actually, it's right here on page 4.
Okay.
Code of Ethics, I wrote it in my chicken scratch on the right-hand side, so you didn't have to read it all, but these RSAs here that you also have attached.
Yep.
Where it says Code of Ethics in the center. The RSAs are saying, so in your Code of Ethics, if you are gonna have one,
Conflict of interest.
conflict of interest, misuse of position, right? Acceptance of contributions, right? Campaign stuff like that. Restrictions on simultaneous employment and public service. You can see employment restrictions and nepotism for anybody being related. So these are laws that we can point to right now to say not to.
Does it, maybe I'm missing something, but does it talk about, like, blood relatives or by marriage?
Let's
or
see, RSA 27, right?
Yep.
Okay, we got it right over here.
Page-
That's why you have them.
That 4 or 5? 4.
It says they, their spouse, or dependents.
All right, you want, let me see, I said that was number 27.
Yeah.
So let me go over here to the one called 21G. It's in your packet, the big one in the middle of your laws.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's 20 what?
21G.
I think, is it 21 or 27? I said
Certified
it's
limits of
nepotism.
personnel and
It's, oh, sorry, it's 26A, it's above it, 26A. So I got it because it was on the bottom. So you see where it's, if you go almost
what page
two-thirds-
you on? Oh,
13, if you can see it.
21.
21-G.
Yep.
And then go to 26A, and between that and 27.
Oh, boy, I'm gonna love reading this.
So nepotism, no executive branch or official, right, shall direct, hire, or evaluate the compensation or salary for a supervisor, terminate the employment of any full-time, part-time employee, temporary employee, member of a state board, if such employee member is in the following ways: a spouse, parent by birth or adoption, or step-parent, son or daughter by birth or adoption, stepson or stepdaughter, brother or sister, whole or half-blood or by adoption, mother-in-law, father-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, daughter-in-law, or son-in-law, or a grandparent or grandchild.
Okay, so that pretty closely defines the affected familial connections.
Correct. No one will live here.
So like I said, we're almost done with this article, then we'll get to the matrix, and I think you can make a decision whether you want to go forward on that. All right. So they're saying when conflicts do arise, you can look at these laws here to remove the conflict, right?
You on page 4?
Yep, I'm back to page 4, yep.
Okay.
All right, let me go on to the next page with 2 unhappy more faces.
We have, how many pages to get? Oh,
Now, the top part of that is an orange on mine, but not yours. If you are going to have what we have in this town called whatever, this code of, what was it called? Code of interest, those are the things that should be in it, only those orange. So we're gonna look at ours and make sure we don't have anything else in there, right?
We color-coded?
Just the top part there that says what it can cover. All right, the next part that I was unhappy is, despite clear limits of the statute, local ethic ordinances often include unauthorized provisions. Oh, I think I already read those. They put them on the front, right?
Yep.
All right, non-binding. Okay, keep going. Next page. 2 more unhappy faces. What they're saying here is also common to find the local ethics committee charged with investigating ethical complaints about employees, and that's dangerous, because you should let the town policy handle that. We shouldn't get involved with that.
I agree.
Keep going down to where the next circle is. Along the same line. You can't force this ethics policy on a municipal official because they're trying to also follow the personnel handbook at the same time.
So we're talking about volunteers.
Yeah, but this ethics policy, some of them do it for elected, appointed employees. So you get dangerous if you stop bringing employees in and you're investigating them. Yep. So if you do think you have a potential, there's other legal regulations of ethics. There's criminal statutes that you can go after them with if you think so. So right now, some towns use the Board of Selectmen to determine if there's an ethical issue. Some use the town administrator. If it turns out it goes to the town administrator or us, basically if they broke the law, you're going to hand it over to the police department, and it's going to follow that route, right? If it didn't, but it goes to our code of ethics, what we think is good or evil, then it comes to us, right? Or an ethics committee. It depends how your town wants to do it. See how these towns all decided to do it differently. Then that's who watches the watchers really comes into play, right?
Are you on the happy page side?
No, I'm on the happy page now. So
Okay.
the happy page is you can go after them for anything criminal, right? That's how you enforce some of your ethics. You have to be careful of libel and slander. And you have to be very careful about the New Hampshire right to know law, which we just knew about there, right? Okay, so what did I say on the last page? RSA 4118. Even towns without a charter of selectmen are only authorized to act as a board of majority vote, although there is no statute authorizing removal of a selectman for improper interference. The old saying is that one selectman cannot do anything. It's still valid. Only a board may act. So basically they're saying, they're going after the selectmen. Who goes after the selectmen, but yeah. So I just, at the moment, and now you asked about land ones, you can remove somebody from a planning board and zoning. You are allowed to do that.
I had read the same article.
Okay, so you can do that. It is confusing because you're reading about
Right.
city, town, yeah, it is confusing. So, you see the dangers of an ethics is if you start to include employees, the right to know law. The town of Milford can subpoena people, and they have an ethics committee that can actually subpoena them, do pre-investigations, subpoena, and then post-investigation. So it's used as a political tool sometimes when people are running to make a complaint. They go in, it's, that kind of thing. some people say, on ethics committees, I'm gonna have 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and an independent. Some people say, I wanna have department heads run it, kind of, or, that's, so you'd have to figure out the makeup of what you wanna do. So,
Not easy.
it's not easy. I understand you wanna have maybe something in place that we have for guideposts. We can do that.
Yeah, I think
We
we
could do
should.
a,
Just
we
have
could do it.
goalposts. Everybody stay between, this is how we want everybody to
Right.
conduct it. But I mean, the only real enforcement you have is censorship, right?
Well,
You write a scathing letter at them saying what they did
Yeah.
was wrong, and
Yeah.
then not appointing people next time their appointment comes up.
right. The ethics committee can come up with 4 things. You did something by mistake. Or maybe you didn't do it by mistake, right? There's different types of, errors you are mentioning. So the big thing you want to make sure is, you want something, you're not going to get anything with teeth, and you don't want to leave the town liable for anything if we go after somebody, right? Because if somebody made a complaint, you have to investigate. So, so let's get into how we want to handle a balance. All right. So that's everything on the left. This little sheet here on the right-hand side was the 4 articles that you have, that we read the first 2. The third's in your packet, the 4th one you can just click
There
on.
it is, right there.
So, okay, let's just look at your 2 spreadsheets and we'll come to a decision. Or maybe more research, I don't know, but on the right-hand side, you had, a smaller spreadsheet that derived from the bigger spreadsheet that I had passed out.
Yes, you got 4 in this one, right?
So I had to take that big one and get rid of some out of the list. So,
Bobby?
Select this one now.
yep, we're at the small spreadsheet and what I did to make it a small spreadsheet.
You went from this to this?
I went from the big spreadsheet to the small spreadsheet. This is the ones that are left as candidates if we're gonna use it as a town.
This
See
one
the
here?
smaller spreadsheet?
That one and the little one. Yeah, Rich has got one.
Got a lot of crosses out, because after I got it
And the other
down to
one's just-
21, I started to cross them out of why they shouldn't apply.
Okay.
And then this spreadsheet here, which is the reason I threw them off the big list. That's how I went from the big spreadsheet by throwing them out,
You got it right
and why I threw them out.
With all the websites, okay.
So we're down, if you want to just look at if you want to look at my calculus on why I threw things out, we can, but
Nope, I trust you.
you trust me. Okay. So who's left? Durham. Durham is a good one. First of all, they recommend not to use an ethics committee, but everybody that was left had an ethics committee, right? Not that saying we have to have one, but if we are, I'll show you the example of Durham. Okay? We only went over 2 articles, but there was a third one that I didn't read, but this one passed that 3rd article. Everything legally, this one passed. Durham. Okay? It handles employees properly. It by not handling them, it makes it clear about 91A.
What does it do, point the employees back to the handbook?
Yep, put it back to the town admin. Yep. I would say add something Milford has, which is the outcomes and recommendations. This one does not. You did it by mistake. We're gonna, like you said, we're gonna write you up. We're gonna give you a warning, or we don't want you to commit, kind of thing. How to do that? But it's non-binding. So Durham. Next page would be. Hampstead. I would stay away from. I would just go to Merrimack or Milford. Merrimack is pretty boilerplate. They start to look alike. They all followed the same template. Milford was very good, but they did note they could subpoena authority. That's the only one I saw do that. I don't know how much power you want to give an ethics committee.
Yeah, I remember that back then. Department heads were involved with this when we did it back in the day.
Janet told me all about it. So, yeah, so again, if you subpoena somebody, you want to go to non-public, but then how do you get the RSA right to know? It really is a big, and actually, I spoke with you a little bit about it. I threw out Nashua because it was a city and it had to follow the town's way it was set up, but you had some comments about what happened in Nashua, right? If you would like to share, I think it'd be interesting.
Do we know where this is going?
Is this a private matter?
No.
So,
Rich knows.
a couple things that I think I spoke about was, you need to be careful, like, and as Kim was saying, it can be used as a political tool. So sometimes it's very careful, you have to be very careful, if you have you create a committee, that you have members from each party. And the other thing that we saw was that you need to be careful that you have properly educated the members to begin with. So if you're going to have something, you need to have that education when these people are appointed, and actually have them sign a statement saying that they were given the rules and they were educated to them. Otherwise, you're holding them accountable to something that they could claim that they were never given and they were never informed of. And so that's a process. We didn't have many cases during the time I was there, but it's complicated. It does get complicated, and it can become entangled in the right to know, because the right to know has become so large now that there really are very few limitations to someone having the option to look at the results. So it's complicated. We didn't, in the second half, issue statements and have committee members sign statements that they had been educated to it. And what I think was interesting was we didn't see any issues after we stopped doing it. So I think educating, like we made it was a common practice for Board of Education members to go to the school board, the New Hampshire School Board, and go through their training. There was training that we went out and we gave board members as to what is a conflict of interest, right? So you need to, and then, the old adage of you really need to think about whatever action you're performing and how the public and your constituents are going to think of it. So through education, I think sometimes you get a lot more than you get through the ethics committee.
You were saying they weren't even signing it.
Yeah.
The mayor, who wasn't? Somebody
We
wasn't even
weren't
pushing
sending
it.
them out, we weren't pushing it to have them sign it. We were just doing the education. We called it an orientation of a board or a committee. And there's lots of things. There's other things that we would wrap into an orientation. But people, staff members, they could go to and they could ask more questions if they had questions. Because sometimes that's it. They just don't understand. They've been appointed to a board. They've never been involved in town business before, and they just need someone that they can ask questions to and understand the best course.
I think it's very important, and I think that the rubber hits the road here with us as selectmen, that the people in town have to have confidence that no one is getting unfair advantage or unfair disadvantage by their position of power or who they know, that sort of thing. And it's like later on in today's meeting, we're going to be discussing a disposition of a tax property. Okay? Well, now, maybe somebody would say, hey, this here, put a bid in on this or something, could take advantage of their position to
Gain something.
to gain, and it doesn't have to be financial.
Nope.
It could just be influence or something, and I think it's is grounded in reality, but also there's an element of just people have to have confidence that we're doing the right thing, you know? And that's what's important. And again, education, I think, is an important piece because we're dependent on volunteers. And if people say, well, I'm not gonna volunteer because they're out to get me or something, you know? Well, we don't want that. So we have to educate people, this is what you do and this is what you can't do. And a lot of that, I think, can filter down from the chairman, you know? The chairman need to know and then the individuals on that particular board could then be involved with that. So, you know, I mean, I compliment you on doing all this research. But I think whatever we come up with, it has to give people confidence that we're not taking unfair advantage of our position.
Is,
You know, it's almost like we wanna do, when I say goalposts, it's just rules of engagement.
Yep.
You have all these wonderful volunteers that step up, may have never done it before, and they don't know what's right, what's wrong. But if we can go to every board, every commission, and say, this is what we want everybody to adhere to and to follow, this is what we expect, then we can educate new people as they get appointed.
Yep, that's coming up on the suggestions here, but the land use you brought up, you're supposed to go in with a jury mentality, that, like, if you wouldn't be picked to be on a jury because you knew something, it's almost self-regulating, right? That you would remove yourself. This board here, and the lower boards as well, if anybody knows that this, maybe somebody should recuse themselves, we have to be self-governing and let that happen. That's one way to build confidence, right? Write that up as a policy, because they are doing that in some of these. So nobody has an advantage, right? So you have to recuse yourself. It's just hard legally because, you know, we can write up something and say at the end of it, we expect you, if you did something, we expect you to resign, but there's no teeth to it, right? There really isn't. But, so, yeah, I agree. There's onboarding as an employee, they can read or sign something that, you know, some education, right? Maybe but during their oath instead when they come in, yearly. I don't know if there's a pledge or training is another one. So, yeah, we can come up with what you think. What did you say? Keep it in the guide. What did you say the other time? Keep it in
Goalposts.
goalpost, or yeah. And the other towns do it through a code of ethics. Some of them have a code of ethics, but not a, committee. You can do it that way as well. And just list regular RSA law. It'll all fold in there. The only risk you have is if they get out of sync, if the law changes and you have it in your document, but not, keeping up to speed with the law.
You wanted to add
Oh,
something?
sorry.
Yeah, come on up.
Oh, I found one for you for the library.
Come on.
Up, sit.
Come on up and sit.
Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Nikki Beauregard, 21 Corning Road.
Hey.
I have a couple of thoughts, just as a representative of the community and the writer of the letter where I represented multiple people, where we've been talking about this. And this is very eye-opening, and obviously it's not just a matter of taking a vote tonight and saying, yeah, we're gonna do this, because if you did, it's obviously a big process. But I think as a member of the community, one thing is asking someone to sign something and then refusing to sign it, I think is what happened with, from what I understand, in one of our committees in town. So that's where some of the conflict came up, where they're like, okay, here are our bylaws, and this is what you were just elected to this committee, and we expect you to follow these bylaws, so here, sign this, and the person was like, I'm not gonna sign that, and it's like, then what do you do? And then the answer is, oh, well, they just won't get voted in again. So if there is a process, whether it is going to an ethics committee or if there's education even for the consumer or the
Elected officials.
not just elected officials, but as a member of the community who might have a concern and want to bring that forward. Is there a process? Or, hey, in Litchfield, this is our check mark, right? Okay, so, what kind of violation do you think this person had? It doesn't fall under these categories that fall under these laws, right? And do we have a process of bringing concern about someone? We know we can't remove them, but can we bring concern? Then can they be censured by the Board of Selectmen, or is the Board of Selectmen not wanting to put themselves in the position where they're censuring people on other committees, right? So would you want another committee that would do that? I just think there needs to be a way for, you know, if you're on a committee and you see something nefarious going on or something that you question, or as a community member and you see something concerns you, there should be a way that we can at least like report it, right? Because when I go to vote, how do I know? Right? Well, that person did have a complaint brought, you know, about this. It was brought in this process, and this is what the finding was. Even if it's objective, you know, like, I'm bringing this to the committee because it's concerned me, and you say, okay, duly noted. And, you know, just a way for people to have a process other than saying, well, you know, now they're in a 5-year term, and in 5 years, they won't get elected again. You know, that's not satisfying.
Yep.
But I recognize the extent of this and how difficult it would be to put anything in place without voters agreeing to it.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
I did find a code of ethics just for libraries, but again, you're gonna have to adhere to the rules, but only one town had it, of Pelham, and here it is, if you'd like it, it just says draft on it.
Yeah, no, there's
I
like
replaced the
the,
Litchfield, I replaced Pelham with Litchfield.
there's a lot of American Library
Yes, I
Association
saw, yeah.
guidelines that they're
Okay, so you don't
supposed to
want that.
follow.
I
No,
just thought it was weird that only one town had
yeah,
one.
no, I did a lot of research actually about that as well. So, that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you gave us a lot to read.
I guess you're gonna, the guide rails are gonna be code of, whatever we have, what was this, I never get that right, I keep saying influence, but it's not a code of influence, where's my chart, hold
Code
on.
of ethics?
Now, we have one now called the conflict of interest ordinance, and most ethics are always about conflict of interest usually, right?
Correct.
So, we do, I would say, look at what we have for us now, because it's a policy. I know it's a paper one, God knows where, 1982. I know, exactly. So, at least see if that's current, right? But that should list some of the RSA laws that are clear, right? So nobody has the competitive edge, like you're saying, or, you know, or lack of trust or sense of trust. You could look at a code of conduct, but one of them actually merged them together, so it depends where you want to go. Well, first of all, I would say, do you want an ethics committee? Is really something to think about.
We need some ethics functionality. I don't think having a separate ethics committee is necessary. I think as selectmen, we are the
Appointing agents.
what'd you say?
Appointing agents.
Yes, and we're elected, so if we don't do the job of the people think is the right thing to do, they can vote us out. If there's a separate ethics committee, it can get kind of cloudy. But we need the functionality, is what I'm saying.
I think we need a document in education, just so everybody knows.
Well-
Start in March, when everybody gets elected, people get reappointment, we go back through and we give education.
I think that's one way of doing it, but right now, there's so much out there, what was given to us tonight. Okay, Kim? And I wanna thank you for your expertise in retaining everything.
I just wanted to see if we needed an ethics policy. It
Yeah.
sounds like legally we don't want one.
Correct, okay?
But we need
But I like to read it a little better,
Yeah.
okay, before I discuss anything or talk anymore. It's complicated. Everybody has issues. I know I've been, like I said, in Milford, I I was involved with this. As a department head, they brought us in to talk about it. Okay, and it changed a little bit. Our town council at the time was very clear of the law. I do remember the guy very well. He did pass away though. Okay, but, it's quite a bit. I like to reread this because it's been a while since I've been involved. And I think that's the next step here. You know, we get through the budgets and stuff like that, and we have a little time in the winter. Okay, the latter part of the year to really sit down and go over it better.
I will say that in my 40-plus years here in town, I know of several instances where, in my mind, there was a violation of conflict of interest. And someone got significant financial gain from that conflict of interest. And that, to me, is not right. So, that's my motivation for this.
We need something.
Yeah.
We should have something.
They wanna look at the one we have now to see how current it is, or?
Well, let's get that to us, okay?
The first matrix I handed out, you
Yeah,
can
I
see the
got- I
towns
got
that
it,
just
I got
had
it.
that. We can model one of
Got it.
those, right?
You got it right here, I got it.
We can model one. You can Google them as well. There you go.
Google,
I'd like to see Litchfield's.
it's right here.
You have it.
It's in the
That's,
back.
oh, that's the current one we got?
The
Okay,
old one.
Perfect, okay.
This is the 80, yeah.
2001.
Oh, this says 2001.
Well, that's the one that, yeah, we have,
Something with
82.
82 in there a little.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Correct,
we'll
it's
look
an
at
older
that
one.
All right,
There-
Is it
review
this?
that and we'll
next
come
meeting.
back to it at the next
Go ahead,
meeting.
Sorry.
Maybe
Thank
not
you
the
for all
next
your
one.
work.
We got
Oh,
budget.
no problem.
It's not like you did much.
I thought it should go, but we're gonna work as a team, obviously, but it just looked legally risky
Yeah,
to do
definitely.
it. But if you were going to do it, follow the RSA's. That was my.
That's the bottom line.
I'm just curious, in 2010, the warrant article was turned down rather substantially.
Yep.
I wonder why.
Tom Healy would have told you. Got the minutes?
Hollis, killed it during warrant article.
What's that?
During warrant article, the town of Hollis saw that come up, and they killed it right there.
Yep.
It never made it.
They voted it
They
out.
voted it not to appear on the
Yep.
warrant article.
And and that's what happens because it's not a taxpayer's decision by law. Okay, by law, it's New Hampshire's law. That's it. There's no home rule here. That's the bottom line.
All right, well, thank you once again for all your efforts.
Kim, thank you.
Greatly appreciated.
I wish we had the color
these in a
pages so I
box
could go along
somewhere.
better.
Oh, no, no, no. I'm not a lawyer, no. Something's fun. Thank you for all your help as well.
Next, we have the warrant for November election. Ms. Kleiner.
So, town clerk, Terry Brand brought this needs to be approved by the board and posted in 2 places.
I must have the old one that we had, didn't we?
I think this was in the consent folder, correct?
It was.
Yeah.
There's only 3 spots to sign.
Back in the day, it was only 3 selectmen when they first wrote it.
3, you can have 5.
Kevin only puts X's anyways.
So I know at least I signed it.
Well, as long as 3
I'm-
people signed it, we're all set.
We're all set.
Oh, good. All right, thank you.
Have they ever
I'll
closed
verify it.
on the winter snowstorm?
We never have.
We
There has
never
been
have.
Towns that have, but we never did.
There was a huge to-do about it,
Yes.
what was
A couple years ago.
What, yeah, someone did.
5 years ago.
Someone did.
5 years ago, there was a huge snowstorm, and then they came back, and what were they gonna do with the power from the Secretary of State? Could he close it? What could happen?
Yes, correct.
You got it.
All right, next we have budget update. Ms. Kleiner.
So,
We got even worse, huh?
unfortunately, well, if there was any good news, I would give it to Karen to tell you, but maybe she found some, but I haven't found any. you knew about the health insurance rates. Unfortunately, we also received the Primex, property insurance rates. They were expecting a 20% rise. We're only seeing a 9%, so 9%. They were expecting 20% as a general rule, so, but that's still about $6,900 more in the budget. There's a tad bit for a couple other areas, but nothing that will really measure to anything. What we haven't seen is really anywhere where we can look at the budget and say, okay, how can this be reduced, right? I mean, you're in the problem of the tax cap. Having said that, there's another piece of news that maybe Mr. LaSalle knows about. There was House Bill 1221
Okay.
that passed. Doesn't necessarily make it any better, but it makes it interesting. So the state has agreed to pay back the towns and the cities 7.5% of the Group 1 teachers and the Group 2 police and fire, 7.5% of your last fiscal years. So if you look at July 1st to June 30th, whatever you paid in for those employees, they will give you 7.5% back. So I had heard about this. I contacted the NHMA to find out how it's going to affect the town, which operates a little bit differently, because do we have to put this as unanticipated revenue? Or what we thought that the governor wanted was you to include it on your MS4, and they were going to apply it in your tax rate, because really that's what it was meant to do. The governor wanted to help people pay down the tax rate. What we found out from the NHMA is you can really do either. Both are legal. You can either include it on your MS4, and they will include it in the tax rate setting process, or you can wait and declare it as unanticipated revenue and maybe possibly buy something that is in next year's budget, if there is something.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been looking at.
So we think possibly it might be about $36,000.
Okay.
And we're expecting that a tax rate setting, they're gonna let us know that, because if they want us to offset it this year on our MS4, they have to let us know a tax rate setting, what it's gonna be. So, if we offset the revenue, which is great, because then it reduces our tax cap for next year, but if we don't get that money again next year,
Yeah.
you're kicking it again down the line.
Road, yep.
So it's hard.
It's
So we
almost
kinda-
better to use it to buy something you need in the budget.
Exactly, exactly. And it doesn't look like there's a lot of equipment in our budget. So I don't know, so I think we just have to go through it a little bit more and see what really we can come up with.
Did we get any more
I think
updates on
that's
our revenue?
No, because they haven't set the tax rate.
Yeah.
So we're waiting on that. But usually, I looked back in the past couple of years, it was about, the earliest somebody got their tax rate was October 19th. So I would anticipate by the end of this week, if
Next 2
everything's
days, we'll
into
see
them.
something.
What?
The next 2 days, we'll see something.
Hopefully by
Does
the
the
end.
paperwork finally get filed?
I don't think so.
No.
So they're gonna do it without it? Because the
Right.
school hadn't filed yet, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So how are they gonna set it without it being filed?
Yeah, they can't.
It can.
Can't, so we could be delayed.
Yeah.
because of that.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. But on DRA, depending on what they get in, they're pretty good. But, if everybody else has their tax rate in, then yeah, we're gonna wait
Yeah.
till they review all of our stuff.
So this is a rebate on the business profits tax.
Which,
HB 12/21.
Yes, so that's how the bill began, and then there were some representatives who decided that they wanted to tack on a second half of that being what they really wanted was the state's contribution back in the retirement, right? So back when everyone joined New Hampshire retirement and was told they were gonna get 30%, that's what the representatives that put forth the second half of that wanted. What ultimately passed was 7.5% one time.
And for us, it's only police and fire.
Yeah,
And,
because
and it only goes to police and fire, right?
Well, we'll
Yeah,
only get
the
it back on
schools will
police
get-
and fire, not employees, and the school will get teachers.
They're snubbing the real employees too.
I know.
Yep, that's a state thing.
But it's still something that, you know, we could maybe get out of the budget, to buy something.
And you said 36,000?
Yeah, I'm thinking about 36.
And we're in the red $250,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You will be.
Yeah, and we don't have workers' comp in yet, so we got property liability and unemployment, we don't have workers' comp in yet. But it did say they anticipate it going down,
Right.
so that might be a good thing.
The insurance market itself got hit incredibly by COVID. So we knew insurance was going to go up. I know some others that are self-funded that, you know, saw even greater than 20%. So,
Do we know of any one-time purchases that we can pull out of the budget? to help that number down?
What about that $750,000 we've got?
For what?
And, for COVID,
ARPA funds,
ARPA fund.
you're
Oh,
talking
no,
about
the
ARPA?
904, 904.
Well, you can't use that
904.
against the
Yeah.
budget. You have
What?
to use that to buy items, I mean, for,
It's certainly not within the auspices of the spirit of what the ARPA funds are for.
Just wanted to bring it up.
Well,
it's a squiggly line you're walking.
yes.
That's, I don't wanna walk that line. Leave that to other people.
That's every Friday and Saturday night.
The CIP committee has come up with some
Yeah.
good recommendations.
I just thought I'd bring it up as if it was possible, but it sounds like it's not.
Budget committee's voting on Thursday, right? Or not,
Yeah, we
right?
start voting then.
which committee did you talk, you said what committee?
I
CIP.
attended CIP.
Oh, CIP.
We spent all the ARPA money. We came up with a.
A way of.
Suggestions.
I'm sure it's gonna change.
Suggestions?
Suggestions, yes. Is that what everybody?
Will that help us with this?
No,
No.
can't help us with this.
Oh, the next one's gonna be the best one, budget update. Hey, Bob, anything to say?
See what we
Yeah,
can
it's
take some
hard.
out.
I mean, we looked at, the radars for the police department, but it wasn't, you know, that much. We tried to look at IT to see, but I know, so
It's just nothing.
there wasn't much
Keep
there.
taking out, but it keeps going up.
Back in.
I mean, the cruiser, but I don't even think
Even?
they could order one and get it by
Right,
the end of the year.
no.
Well, the thing is, when you get back to putting it back in next year, there's a $50,000 bite out of your tax
Yeah,
cap
yeah,
already. so
right, yeah.
Right.
Better leaving it there, cause that's a year going.
Yeah, 'cause as soon as you take it out, yep.
It has to be for fire or?
No,
No,
no.
no,
any-
you can use it for anything.
Paving.
Those are usually the ones that have the purchases, cause they know what they need to, you know, buy,
Gets us what, 200 grand?
or highway, but there's nothing really.
We could use
I mean,
ARPA
unless-
for paving.
What's that?
Bought a huge
Gets
thing.
200,000 out of the.
But I don't know that you can take
Okay.
the highway block grant out, cause that's in it, we offset that with the revenue. We
But then we
get,
have, but we have a road plan too, right?
oh, the 25,000.
We skipped that last year, didn't we?
Well, yeah,
We pulled
Oh,
that
the
out
warrant
last year.
article, yeah,
yeah. We pulled it last year.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's in the budget right now. It says road plan 200,000.
Yes, I think so.
Under highway, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's under, the 730 is highway block grant, and then right below that in cell
Oh,
59
did I-
is 2022 road plan, and that looks like they have 200,000 loaded into it.
Oh, did I,
Yeah,
that,
it does.
that,
I would ask
might have
Kevin
messed
before
that
we
up.
hold that.
Talk to Kevin.
Yeah, I would
I
definitely
might
ask
have-
Kevin before we do that.
An ARPA fund to replace that?
Or maybe it's just, you're giving an explanation below it.
After equipment with him for that.
Do I have 200 in there twice?
No, I think you only have it in there
Help the,
if-
What?
dump as well.
Oh,
me
that,
get
that
you
was
that.
the road plan then, yeah, for this year, so he didn't give me anything, sorry to
backhoe?
update that. I was really hoping I had an extra 200,000 in there.
going back in.
Yeah, and he just got the 173
I know.
that he, did this year, and there was, another grant that the state was talking about for the roads, the bridges and culverts or something. And we were anticipating getting money possibly from that, but it didn't say when to expect it, how they were dispersing it, or what was going on with that.
Just trying to come up, be
We haven't
creative on how we can
Got the check.
get a big
so-
hunk of money gone at once.
Yeah. Yeah, so that 200, cause we offset that with the revenue of highway block. I think you have to kinda keep it there.
Just joking.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's pre-paying,
The
paying the
Pinecrest
truck
Albuquerque's
lease,
already
but,
Yeah.
That was that special money he got.
but then he doesn't have it in there to roll it into
No,
another
now he's
truck the
doing the
next
too
year.
small, the road, the loop road.
So he was trying to get a head start, because of the 200 here plus the one time.
Yep.
He thought he could get a real good jump on it, but,
And he does,
we've got to do something to get it below for the budget committee.
Yeah,
yeah.
Has the budget committee given you any feedback, Robert? No?
No.
Let's start cutting and voting Thursday, right?
Yep.
Like to get him something closer.
I mean, I don't know how much salt Kevin can hold if he bought a lot of salt. But I don't think I know he just bought some too.
Not much.
He just pushed it in today.
Needs another.
I'm sorry, Karen, what did you say? I couldn't hear you.
Oh, Kevin's salt, if he could, I didn't know how much salt he can hold in his salt shed to pre-buy some salt. But, I mean, yeah,
That's
we just gotta get the
$250,000
warrant article
to buy an
changed.
awful lot of salt.
Oh, well, I just meant with that money that we're gonna get for the, New Hampshire retirement back.
Yeah.
Oh,
5.
Can we negate the money out of this and pay it that
There's
way?
two salt sheds there.
Let's do what?
This one, they used to store salt in there too.
Yep.
Needs a new test, that section, but.
I don't know.
Not easy.
This emergency equipment purchase, under emergency management?
Is that just the 1,500 or?
Yeah,
That's a stipend.
I'm just looking at the total, yeah.
Not that much.
Oh,
Yeah, I think, yeah, budget committee questioned that too, cause we haven't spent. It's just really in case you do have an emergency and you have to, set people up, you'd, either buy provisions or, something.
Yeah, you gotta have that. Especially in the winter time with snow.
Yeah,
ice
if you
storms,
had an
stuff like that,
emergency and
you
needed the
gotta have it back
shelter or,
somewhere.
yeah.
Bye.
You missed something? How was your board meeting tonight? Very good then.
Take care.
One of the,
Had to say it.
maybe one of the suggestions is CIP committee already took tasers out
You stopped by to say hi.
and put it under the ARPA money.
She's here for the library.
No, she's done.
Maybe
I already talked
you could hold off a little bit longer and find another use for the ARPA money, or put more of the ARPA money towards the fire truck. But, I mean, something like that is a good use for this money, cause it's a one-time,
Yeah, or John's,
One time, yeah.
IT, because it's something that could get ordered and placed and paid for.
Get it out of the budget.
Yeah, but, yeah, I mean, they're
It's-
already out of the
yeah.
budget, but then you're not affecting it for next year with that
Next year,
tax
yeah.
But you could
back
take the
again.
cruiser out
Taking
and
the
put it
ARPA
under
money to buy a
ARPA.
fire truck.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Lower the fire truck a
I
little.
thought we were gonna do that, yeah.
Were we gonna do that? Yeah.
CIP agreed, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable thing, you know. Anything that we can identify
As a one-time.
that we can take out of the budget and use ARPA money for, we should do it.
But they were 47,000, right?
Right, so if we took the 47 and used it this one-time anticipated revenue, and then you took the 64 and paid for that, for the cruiser, for out of ARPA, you'd lower the amount going to the truck just a little, but not,
Yeah, but if you bought the cruiser with the ARPA money, then you're gonna, when you put the cruiser back in next year, you're gonna be right back
Yeah.
in the same hole.
yes, that's true.
So ongoing things, I wouldn't be in favor of. One-time purchases probably.
We just haven't found any.
When are you getting the money?
So
They
she,
said December?
yeah, they said
This
December.
year, December?
Yeah.
Because those
Get
tasers
the
don't
numbers
really
for
work, right?
back yet?
Well, the battery or something, the screen's
Yeah,
off.
they came in, but they're not gonna vote on it for 2 weeks, but I
Sounds
think,
good, I don't know.
Yeah, the police
I
department
think
must
we
be
should
cooking.
keep the 90 that's in there right now.
I hear
We-
Chris Ryder's always making food if he's
We
working.
have numbers from high 70s into the hundreds,
Regarding the maintenance,
in field maintenance. So I think right now we have 90 plugged in. You know, we may pick up 3 or 4 grand off of that number, but that hasn't been voted on yet.
Oh, you think that might come in less? Field maintenance?
Well, we got all 5 of the proposals the
Yeah.
other day, we just haven't decided on which one we're gonna go with. And they range from the high 70s into 100 and change.
No,
Right now, I think my opinion is the best one's probably about $87,000. Be the best for the town, but as a commission, we haven't voted on it yet.
go back and bargain.
And I think we have, what, 90 plugged in right now?
Yes.
Steve, I can't get the budget to come up on my computer. I
Should've
tried
brought a
100
hard
times.
copy,
Doesn't like
Sharon.
me tonight.
Was that, recreation?
Yeah.
You're not in the portal, bud.
It was.
No.
Oh, I see, okay. See what happens when you're 2 weeks away?
Oh, yeah, so they only budgeted 83,301. But then 7 grand for the repair irrigations and other stuff, so the total for that field maintenance is 90.
No, that's not the one.
Sanitation has a few small things in there. Some
Trying
equipment
to look for the
repair,
address for
general
it.
supplies.
Yeah, but
Litchfield.bos?
kinda, those are like vague, you don't know what he's gonna
Right
buy.
here,
But
BOS.
by all means, you
NH.gov.
could, pre-buy a lot.
There it is, came up,
or,
yeah, did it before.
Custodial, but
Oh, you got
that's
that.
a
I
lot
had it
of
last
money
time,
to
they
come
didn't
up
like me
with.
this time. And now I can find it on the first screen.
Now you can come all the way down, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll be able to open it.
Yep.
Good, so you just keep coming.
Go ahead,
90,000.
no, my hands are broken.
Yeah,
Not even
There you go,
touched
if you
it.
double click up in here, it will open it up the whole thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
The-
right up there.
The, police department, they got the vests.
Yep.
as
Yeah,
well
that's
as-
what we looked at too, the vests and the radars.
Yep.
I think he
Well,
was,
he has new officers, and yeah, when they wear out,
when they come back around.
but I think the radar we could pull. And do that with a one-time purchase. Because everything's so tight that it's,
Yeah.
wages and insurances,
Yep, it's the majority of it.
fuel.
Ford made us 14% on that, right? Increase.
Yeah, cause even if we had a little money left over at the end of the year, I don't know what you could
Well, but that was
pre-purchase.
because
Yeah.
of the employee.
Yep.
This is under, sorry, but on road maintenance, we have equipment purchase of plow wings and plow blades.
Yeah, it's just all like miscellaneous for all their plow blades
Yeah.
that they replace during the winter season after plowing, and so it's not like a specific item that
It's like an
he's
equipment
looking to
failure, you scrape
purchase.
it on the, it wears down.
Need new cutter blades.
Use wood, but, no, hardwood,
I mean, I know he has his vehicle leased, but,
I know.
he wanted to roll that into a new one the next year.
Seeing here for cutting.
I see nothing, I can't. Look at the percentage of the increase on everything, and basically it's health is caused, when those numbers come in, that's gonna tell us, oh boy. The rest of it, we're fair, but we still gotta consider the next
Yeah.
3 steps here.
And the library cut that we made, they said we didn't have the authority to do.
Yeah, that went back in.
But the budget committee will probably take care of that.
In the IT budget, I have a lot of one-year contracts that could get rewritten to be multi-year and prepaid.
That's actually a good idea.
So you could basically remove that cost for 3 years at minimum. And it's doable.
Your current budget would allow that?
Well, my current budget wouldn't, but if you wanted looking for one times, you could take, there's multiple lines there that I pay yearly. They can go into 3-year prepays, which means you pay for it, you don't see it for 3 years.
How much would that amount to?
Could up to about 60 grand maybe. I have to go look at the numbers again, but
That might be
it may be less.
good, cause by then in 3 years, hopefully this tax cap is all changed and
Right.
when we
I can
come back,
also-
we don't
I
have
can
the
also
issue.
grab Communications fund, and just do a 3-year agreement, bring that, take that, remove that, at least half that cost out of the budget altogether.
What communication fund?
So in my budget, there's a $10,000 line item. One is half of it is the contract for the service for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other half is the time and materials and when certain activities happen throughout the year. I could at least remove the one that's contract based, which is the $5,000 part of it. I think it's $5,300 and change. I could ask for a 3-year contract, rewrite it as a 3-year contract. That would remove that out of there.
So-
It'll still leave 15, it'll still leave 5 in there roughly.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's half anyway. That's a possibility.
Well, I think we need to look at everything, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think you can do it, and not hurt yourself, and if we're not just kicking the can down the road, you know, like with some of these
Mostly I
other
prefer
things.
3-year agreements because it's cheaper. I
Mhm.
usually get it at a better price.
Yeah,
You know, there's typically in those agreements, there's growth involved, so then it kind of sided. Again, they're all software-based contracts. So I can go start tomorrow and figure out what that number will look like and share it with Karen and Kim.
if you
If it
could,
makes sense, it's an option, right?
if you could, that'd be awesome.
How about your whole line 740 for 41.7? Could we just go and,
740 is.
it's the 5 computer upgrades, you got the updated monitors, overhead speakers.
Yeah, we already took the overheads off.
Yeah.
We took.
We did, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, it's over here, okay, I'm looking at the line, yeah, so we took the majority of that out.
Yeah. you left
The only
it-
thing left in are the computer upgrades,
And
The copiers.
and then the copier, yeah.
offering it up, don't get me in trouble.
No,
Are you,
we appreciate you offering it up. Trying to help us
are
out.
you thinking an area 6:30, John, or
Yeah, it would actually be a mixture of area, 342 and
340.
630.
Okay.
Where I do yearly contracts, those are potentially someplace where you can do multi-year and do the prepay.
How about the public safety maintenance line? Can we
That's
do?
what I was just mentioning, so
Yeah.
about half that's a written contract, is a year contract, the other half is
That's
an estimate
5,000?
of labor and time and materials for time and tower, stuff like
Mhm.
that. So I think I can get them to do half of it anyway, which would be 53 and change.
Okay.
Having you write it for 3 years, that'll remove at least almost $6,000.
Yeah,
You know, I could, the other side of it too on that, if you wanna go with a multi-year contract, I could remove the other half and take it out of my revolving fund if I need it. Cause it comes with, it come out of repair lines anyway, as another option.
What about the 5 computer upgrades?
I do that every year and
Yeah,
I
that's
can't buy
ongoing.
Oh, yeah, cause then we'll take it out and it will be,
I'll
yeah,
have to work out,
yeah,
so
yeah.
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 I have to leave it that way.
So,
how about that?
yeah, if you could figure out
Might be a
what you think you can work with and let us know, or let Karen and Kim know, and they'll push it forward to us.
Yeah.
And we appreciate it. It's-
I
3-1.
think it removes any issue, we prepay, it removes the issue and we go back to our year. Typically over 3 years, it's the savings of if you, versus year over year, right?
Yeah.
So I'll work on that tomorrow,
Awesome.
see what I can get.
Thanks.
Maybe a couple days to the official reports.
Thank you.
Okay, government buildings, I'll give you a play there. Can we cut hydrant rentals?
Yeah, I know, huh?
So soon cut them right out.
I know. A lot of discussion out there right now, and not just here, in other towns too.
Price themselves out of the market.
Well, it's $5,000 less than what it was last year.
Really, it's not.
So we gotta get about 5% out, huh?
Can we,
Oh, I did like that as auditor.
wait before the end?
Maybe 'cause I thought of something with assessing, but.
Don't get mad, but when is the annual preventative maintenance done on the sanitation equipment? It's not a lot of money, but it's something you can push for a couple of months, you know, get it into the next year. Do you know what part of the year, spring? I didn't know if we could do, you know, push it off a few months to get it into the next year.
Equipment,
I wonder
no,
if I
if it
could start
fails,
my
you got all the
OPEB
costs
early
associated with
and
it.
pay that.
Actually, we were
You gotta keep it
$3
going.
grand if it hasn't gone up.
Get it out of the way so it
do
doesn't
it
go
now.
into next year.
Well, I do it,
Not a lot of money.
online, cause we're small, so you get, you know, I plug in all of the information, but this is my update, year.
It hurt
And
next year.
it's good for 2 years,
You almost have to.
so I should see if I can,
Get it
Goes
done.
half- goes half your opera money. But to get it off the taxpayers' pay too.
yeah, $3 grand.
What's the cost for?
You plug in all the information, they run all the information, yeah. But it's 2 years,
Back and see how it is.
so, you know, it's
For some
15,
reason, I
don't
didn't think
know,
you
but
could,
it
'cause I
would be
remember
next
asking
year
that
and the
question, I
next
thought
year.
to Troy.
So I wonder if I can do that, I should
Yeah,
look
because
at
I
that,
remember we talked about that.
get that out.
If you paid it early, you had to still pay the interest.
Yeah,
Because that was part of
That
the,
might be right.
But could you take the money and put it into a pool just to pay out of that? So put it in a fund that's dedicated to that and then don't pay taxpayers on it? So you can allocate $5,000, put it in this one fund, all that's purpose for it.
There's some logic to that.
Same result.
Yeah, we'd have to check legally if we can, but it's the same result, but at least it has the kitty of money
So
just
there's-
paying it.
yeah, there's
It doesn't hit you
450
yearly, and it's out of the budget.
Just spitball.
Yeah, that's the point we're at right now.
throw enough of it at the wall, some of it will stick.
I wonder if other towns are having the same struggles that we are.
If they're under a cap, I imagine
yeah, I
it would
don't
be.
think there's many that have the tax cap, I think there's very few, and it's probably a percentage and not an actual amount. Not sure that that matters, depending on what their percentage is, but. But in general, I think a lot of towns are struggling with budgets.
Budget.
Yeah, they have the same increases. It's it's not enough to add up to
No,
Hopefully
you
somebody
could
finds
find
something wrong in my math.
anything other
other
than
pieces
John's.
here and there, but,
You're not gonna get it, $250,000.
I mean, and it's tough not knowing where the revenues are gonna be.
Hmm.
Can we adjust, and right now, we can't really find anything, but once we figure out the revenues, then we don't have to worry about it, we can just make it work.
Come back Monday night, well, the budget committee is starting their cuts on Thursday.
True, but if we come back and show them that we've got this based off the revenues
Yeah.
coming in, then
What's
maybe
changed?
we listen. And that means we may have to meet once a week or twice a week. You know, I hate to say that.
Well, the budget will start with the low-hanging fruit first, right?
No, you never know.
Well, it would make sense because they wait for health insurance to come in. We already have it, but we
Right.
don't
Yeah.
have it.
But we have these,
Yeah.
And they usually go after all the parks and recs and stuff like that.
Can maybe do a warrant article for, 10,000 from, fund balance for the ambulance and put that into the ambulance revolving and zero it out of
Mm-hmm.
the ambulance budget. It's only 10 grand, but it's 10 grand.
Yeah.
your expectations on the revenue this year, we have no really concept.
Well, we have them, but we're waiting for what our highway is gonna be, a highway block.
Yep,
And then our rooms and meals.
right, and those are the two
And for
numbers that
some
surprise
reason, I thought rooms and meals, they said was only gonna be last year and this year, so I was waiting to see what they were anticipating for next year.
Yeah,
Because if it goes down. It went up from like 300 and something thousand to 600.
I know.
And that's where we did okay. And if it drops next year, we're in more trouble, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it went 349 up to 636.
Everybody's going out to eat meat and eat more, you know, and they're traveling more. May have a benefit to this. We can sit here and look at this and go, oh, until we get all the numbers in, then we really can't decide. We have to have the rest of the numbers.
Well, it would be nice if workers' comp came in, a lot less.
Last year.
And if our revenues come in more and we're good for next year at the same, that would be nice.
What else can we do?
But it's still not
So-
gonna make up all that.
Just for a
Not gonna make-
scorecard for Thursday night, what have we found tonight so far?
Well, my suggestion is maybe taking 10 grand out of ambulance and doing a warrant article from fund balance for 10. I mean, that's peanuts to me, for a
If
warrant
it doesn't pass, then we
article.
just gotta find 10 grand somewhere in the budget.
You know, it's-
Yeah,
it's
and
been
if you
low
take it
price.
from fund balance, they
Yeah.
usually say, yeah.
You're gonna put it to a warrant, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
Hopper.
and send it to the revolving fund.
so you got that?
And then John had a few
John's
things
gonna
he was
do
gonna make a
that.
list and, yeah.
Then we
Um,
have, if we buy, what was it, the radars.
The radar, that was what, 6,000?
Oh, yeah, what was,
13,000?
13 if I recall.
yeah, 13,550.
The other thing, we could go back to the department heads and have them take another look and see if specifically, is there anything that we could move to this year's budget or to ARPA or to put on a warrant and see if, I mean, it can't hurt anything to ask.
Oh, plus, is there anything else in their budget that they think that they can reduce? Maybe it's 2,000-3,000 per line, whatever it is, okay?
Yeah,
The numbers will come down as the group comes in together.
I may be able to come up with an estimate as far as rooms and meals.
oh, okay.
I'm thinking the same thing, how?
With, I've seen some figures thrown around.
Yeah.
On conservation, they have, $2,000 increase in, property management, which is, PPE equipment, and things like that.
Yeah, gas, and they were really asking, for that.
Fuel and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're paying out of their pocket right
Yeah,
now.
Yeah, well, I understand that, I was thinking, is there a way for us to fund that elsewhere at a year end or something? Even if we left the 250 for fuel in there, everything else is, PPE, you got the repairs, just general supplies, I mean,
You got trails and stuff like that, yeah.
I mean, it's probably not an ARPA area, but
Sure, they forced everybody in the woods.
force everyone in the woods.
Think about it, you know? They couldn't be inside.
don't know where.
The library's got some in it.
Yeah, I think that 10.847 is gonna come out of there, probably budget committee. Under one of the scenarios there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're gonna find a whole lot.
The increases we got this year were set from the previous year.
Do we know what our default budget is yet?
I haven't gotten, libraries default, and I haven't put in these insurances, but, yeah, it's higher than our budget. Where is,
Don't smile too much.
I mean,
yeah,
I know.
cause you can carry all those,
what's
holes.
gonna happen is if we don't get below it, the budget committee can't vote in favor of it. So then it's gonna come down to the taxpayer, do they go with the proposed or the default?
So I have default right now, it's, $7,838,299,
It says 7,800,000?
yeah. And what's,
Yeah.
Say that again?
7,838,299,
That's default?
yeah,
What's the general budget right now?
We're at 7.9 right now?
7,9.
Yeah,
So it's lower than
7,967.
Yeah. It's lower by, we're at.
Yeah, but that, you gotta look at the tax, the prior year's tax and your revenues, those all affect your current.
Correct.
But you're right, it is a little higher, but I don't have property liability in yet, I don't have library in yet,
So they're gonna be darn close.
yeah. But that's what it is right now, and we're already 200 and something over,
Yeah.
so. So we'll be over if they cut down to the tax cap. Default will be over, yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
All right, I
know.
guess we'll just see what the department heads come back with and a couple pennies John can find us.
Okay.
Everything will help, and hopefully our revenues will come in up, but
This is all caused because of vote,
You know what that is?
that one warrant article,
so you think.
which
we-
hasn't been adjusted for years based off interest or anything like that. That's something we ought to think about, rewriting that in a certain way, that we're not caught in this procedure again. And it's all right to have something for 5, 6, 7 years, whatever the case has been, okay? Yeah, but things are changing, okay? The economy, the world, fuel prices, electricity.
We're in a very odd,
We're in an odd situation, but we have had odd situations for years in certain things. So we ought to look at the one article that was voted on, and how to look at that for this coming year to get it on.
Yeah, I think you can rescind it or change it.
Yep.
All right, well, let's see what they can come up with.
Us too.
Yep. I meant they as the department heads.
I did get, FY 2024 meals and rooms, but this is like statewide.
Yeah,
That doesn't really help you, does it?
no, I don't know how they divide that down.
Divided by towns and by
Yeah,
population of the
yeah.
town.
I don't know the calculation of it.
okay.
All right.
After this headache.
Yep.
Next,
Next, we have town administrator report.
That's you.
You're up.
Less,
How short can you make it in
we're
reality?
still stuck from that 7.5%, so.
Okay, we got that round.
So I can't believe it's been 2 weeks. I, really wanted to thank, Karen and Heather for, their work on the budget and helping me understand it and understand everything that's happened up till the point where I came. Kevin Brown, took me on a very extensive, ride and showed me, I think, every town piece of land, but it was so helpful. I cannot tell you how helpful it was, especially understanding the MS4 and, we stopped, we, saw Dave at Solid Waste and he went through his area. I've touched base, for quite a while and had some conversations with Mike French and the police department. So all this helps,
Absorbing
and for an onboarding process.
Yep.
It's so much easier with the staff that you have. I also attended the Lower Merrimack Valley Stormwater Coalition meeting. So this is really where all of the smaller towns get their information and they work together on their MS4 annual permits. So now that we're connected with that group and they meet monthly, they share a lot of resources, so you're not, starting from scratch.
Good.
Just a note that Eversource contacted us, and they'll be working at Innisfield in mid-November. About 3 trucks will be out there to replace the weathered wooden structure and some communication wire, and Kevin Brown has already confirmed with Steve Gannon that the field will be free.
Is it just a storage building? Steve, do you know?
I don't
It's
know.
a tower, I believe, because.
Something, I think, in the back corner of it?
Innisfield is where, I'm sorry.
Brickyard.
Brickyard?
Brickyard.
The
So
back corner is where the pumps are.
Back
Oh,
left-hand
yeah.
corner, right?
Yeah,
Because our
it's
because the
an
rec
old-
shed is on the right-hand
Correct.
side when you go down. Because you have to walk between the 2 stockade
Yeah.
fences. Then right to the right is the
Yeah.
soccer shed.
That's what the pump
So I
is,
think
and
it's
that's the
way in the
feeder.
back left.
There's a power feed going down through there, that's what it's about.
They've been changing the poles out too.
A lot of the poles are starting to turn crooked.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember where it was, Parker.
I'm going to be out of the office on Wednesday. So it's my last class for my New Hampshire finance certification. And then Karen reminded me, thank you, Karen, about the tax property at 25 Cortlandt Street.
Yep.
And the fact that we need to do something about that. And the only other, we've already talked about the 7.5% from New Hampshire retirement, but the other thing that,
Off recording.
I hoped we could discuss is the certified public manager process, that same thing you went through with Troy. I need a project and a sponsor. So I had a few ideas, just from my couple weeks here. I know the budget committee has talked a few times about having a schedule for your equipment. That's something that I've done in my prior. There's also the personnel policy and the grades, the end of that. Could use some help. So, and then there was the education for the policies and, the committees that I could research best education policies and orientation. And there is one session coming up at the NHMA in their workshop in November that is speaking just to that. So it's a couple ideas, but I'm already late. So I should have had a project to the state by,
Which one intrigues you the most?
intrigues me the most, or I think will find me the most help in my role.
That's the other, yeah, good.
The personnel.
Percent.
So I'm looking at those charts, and it's very difficult to relate those with what you're seeing either in the job market.
You wanna do it?
How does our HR director over there feel?
I think it would be great.
One more thing off your plate, right?
No, you know, when we went away from the steps and grades, you just have start, mid, and end, and it's like, when do you get to mid? When do you get
Yeah.
to end? How many years do you have to be here? Who jumps where? When do you jump? Who decides that? When is it decided? You know, we get maybe the raise every July, but that has like nothing to do, or does it have it all to do?
Yeah.
It would be nice to get it cleaned out, but.
And also with some of the changes we've made contractually and so forth, I mean, it'd be great to
It'll help us too,
integrate
really.
everything into it.
Yeah,
Help
and it
us
hasn't
even
been updated in a long time, so, that wage schedule. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
hasn't been.
When we designed it, I was on the board with it, it was every 3 years, and I think we're supposed to do another market reassessment every 3 to 4 years. And the movement through the mid or low, mid, whatever, that's based on performance and COLA. And I think what we're seeing is COLA, we're not really seeing performance impacts. Well, actually, we have seen performance impacts in the past.
Well, cause one year the budget committee pulled it, remember, and then we were a year behind, and
Correct.
it just never got.
Generally, grade is driven by the job and the job responsibilities, and
That's the grade, yes.
and
Yeah.
your steps are your length of service. So I mean, I was asking the same questions to Karen. What does this mean?
It followed the private sector, so it was doing it based on performance. The grade definitely is job, motion, that kind of thing.
Right.
But everything else was based on market and performance, is how it was supposed to be.
And it's a little more challenging when you have like a volunteer on-call firefighters, right? So you really need to research what is best rates in on-call firefighters, which isn't, everyone around us. So I think there is some really good research out there. There's a municipal HR group that did a lot of research, July or August timeframe. And they were mostly in southern New Hampshire, so we can reach out to them and get their input.
Good. That'd be a great help. I thought on the budget, just all of a sudden.
Did we talk about 25 Cortland?
We did not.
She just mentioned.
She just mentioned it in the TA report.
Yeah, where do we go on that? I mean, it's, at this point, I don't know what the legal is, but
Yeah, so legally you could sell it. I don't think it's a clean deed for like 3 years or something, because you could save it for 3 years, then sell it, and 100% of the profit is the town's. If you sell it in between, you have to give back the difference of, I think it's a 15%, off the equalization of the house. You
That's right.
get to keep all of the back due taxes, which are still accruing interest, any money that you spent to hold it, like our insurance that we had to put on it, we get to keep all of that, and then you gotta find the people to give back the rest of the money. And then if you kept it for 3 years, it's all yours.
so up until 3 years, I understand the owner has family,
Yes,
but they haven't made any claim.
no,
So for this first 3 years, they could step in at the last moment and say, well, no, I want the house.
Right.
Yeah, they don't have like ownership rights, but I'm sure there could be some legal process to it. Yes, and that's why it's not a clean deed if somebody buys it within those 3 years.
Do we know anything
But
about a
then we
will
sold it.
or anything like that? We don't know anything about a will or something like that. She may have
Or
one.
probate. I
They
mean, 'cause-
didn't either, right?
No,
They
and I
didn't
thought people
know
got in
it.
touch with the family when it happened and
Don't know.
nobody,
We don't know.
nobody came forward.
But the property is secured right now.
Correct.
As far as I know, they boarded
Boarded.
everything back up.
Is there any evidence of what transpired?
I don't know.
In other words, the cause of death you're referring to?
Yeah. Do you know what the history is on that?
Some, yes.
I'm just, it's probably not for,
Public information.
but, so my thought is wait 3 years, so we have a clean deed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that clean deed would fall on whoever bought it, really. I don't think that they can,
Oh, so we could put it out to bid right now?
oh, yeah, we could. Let me see, Laura,
That says it differently, that's good.
So we
Yeah.
couldn't keep the money for, until 3 years, right?
oh, no, once we get it, it's ours. We just have to then find, like, if it's in probate, who to give that remaining.
But the only money that we actually can have is
And
what
that's if there is anything left.
past taxes.
You
Right.
get the past
That's all
taxes,
And like,
it's like,
there's a fee,
profit
there's an
loss.
admin fee
like a
to it.
15% of the
Yeah.
equalized value of the house when you
Okay.
took it. Not the assessed, but the
Not the whole
equalized.
thing.
And anything you've put into it.
Now, what happens
Got
if
it.
the money
Right
goes
there.
back and it never gets claimed? Where does it go?
I don't know. Cause the last time we did one, the people were, still around and they got the money. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't even know how you'd get in touch with probate to find out if it's in probate or,
Do we have a
I can't
town
imagine there is
policy
anything.
on what to do and so forth? How do we
I don't
put,
think we have a policy, but we did do one before. One on Corning we had taken a few years, back. Actually, Jason was here, so it must have been 8,
8, 9 years ago.
probably 8 years ago or something. But call, I think it's one of the auction places and they pretty much take care of it.
That's correct.
But I think the other house was well kept. We had to clean it out. So there was hours involved in all of that. This one, I think you're gonna sell as is.
This one here don't say clean out.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be as is, so I don't know, probably be the value of the land is,
well, the land itself, it's 1
Yes.
acre lot, right?
yeah.
So that's like $100,000,
Oh, well, more than that, yeah.
so,
At least if you do, I think we ought to go get the tax sale done. Get that done, okay, proceed with it, cause the vacant piece of land is more of a building, it's a vacant, so it could be a concern to the people in the neighborhood. Okay, you gotta consider that. And two, we're not here to make money, all we care about is getting our taxes that we're supposed to get. If somebody else can buy it, and we get what we put into it, keeping the repairs, whatever necessary, we will not plow the driveway this winter, okay?
And it gets a liability office.
Right, that's basically,
Yeah.
that's the goal. I think we should go to tax sale and just get it done.
I think you're gonna make less on the land because whoever buys it's gonna have to take
whatever
care
it
of
takes.
The house.
demo the house.
Oh, so there must be a repurchase
Training
price
for
in
the fire
RSA 8090.
That's why they got Scott Air masking there without any fire. What that?
have you seen the house?
No,
Wasn't
Gonna
part of
give
the
you a
tour.
ride someday,
it wasn't on the tour.
okay?
We'll have to talk to Kevin about it.
Just don't look inside.
You can't, it's plugged up pretty good.
Yeah, so legal had said, you should include any conditions, of sale, such as a property needs to be cleaned up within so many days in the notice of sale. You can either sell it via sealed bids or public auction. And she recommended somebody, if you go to public auction, who's a municipal attorney and's been doing tax deeded auctions for towns. He takes care of everything soups to nuts, notice to closing. And then she recommended
Because of the
somebody else as
profit,
well,
though.
too.
Yeah,
I'll
Yeah.
send that
something,
to you.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm positive.
Doesn't come from us.
All right,
All right, we'll
cool.
find out all
Shall
the
we proceed?
information and.
I think
yeah.
so.
I make a motion that we proceed to take action on the house at 19,
25.
25.
Cortland.
25 Cortland Road, please.
Motion by Mr. Lynch,
They can ring my doorbell.
Second.
second by Ms. Queenan. All those in favor, Mr. Larry.
Aye, just make sure we don't go to the wrong house.
Mr. LaSalle's.
Aye.
Mr. Lynch.
Aye,
Ms. Queenan.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 500.
I know the neighbors, they're nice people.
Next we
I
have,
live on Cortland.
selectmen reports.
Oh, that's true.
Ms. Queenan.
I go first.
Oh, it's short.
It is short. Look at that.
Piece of paper folded.
Folded?
Oh, no. Planning board meets tomorrow night here at 7:00 PM. That's October 18th. Also, we had a person come in, and we ended up working on our online complaint report form. That's going live this Friday. Right, John? Yep. Friday evening, so that'll be up and running and be available on the town website. Capital Improvement Plan, we meet on Tuesday, October 25th at the Town Hall. We did make our first attempt at the ARPA funds to, divvy that up. I'm sure it's gonna change in the next couple of weeks, but we did update you. Let's see. We did add John's IT budget into that. I did not bring it up, but because Carrie had it in blue on her phone, but we didn't have it in blue on our screen. So I thought with the budget committee, something happened. So she was reading off numbers, but anyway, the IT stuff is in there now. I was a little bit confused during the meeting, but just a different
We
color.
had the same problem tonight in red.
So anyway, that's in there now. NRPC, our next quarterly meeting is December 21st, 7 PM at NRPC's headquarters, 30 Temple Street in Nashua. The only update I have is for T-TAC, two of them. One, did you assign somebody to T-TAC? It was supposed to be, Jay Mancara recommended either the Highway Department.
Oh, we did that.
Okay, so
I
you
sent
did,
that
or
in,
town
like, a
admin,
month.
so,
We did Kevin Brown,
Kevin.
and then we put NA, cause, Kim hadn't started, we put town administrator.
Yep,
but
that's what I
That's all
said.
been changed.
Thing.
Okay, good,
And I
perfect.
sent
We
it-
talked about that last time.
Yep, so it was done, okay.
Yeah, I scanned it into him,
I,
or somebody,
I did,
tonight's.
Oh, there it is.
was he there?
Yeah, the changes were made, okay?
Good.
You didn't have to sign anything, that's why you didn't see it.
Oh, that's why I didn't see it yet. I did call into the T-TAC committee meeting October 12th, I believe, just to see where our grants were, if we qualified or not, and we did. We got the Corning Road Route 3A intersection through
Nice.
as item number 4 of 10. So now it's on to Department of Transportation, New Hampshire Department of Transportation, to see if we can make it past that, and if so, that'll be over $1 million, 1.5 million, $1.3 million.
Beautiful. That intersection is growing.
Good job.
We'll see if we get it. I didn't hear anything about the Pinecrest sidewalk, so I'm assuming.
Didn't make it again.
But the snapshot on the screen didn't show it, it only showed the top 5, but so I'll go look, but
They gotta
that would be
on it.
good.
That'd be great.
Good job.
And they're coming from London, they come back here?
Is that all?
That's it, sorry, the end.
Rec Commission, I did not make the last meeting since I was chaperoning Nature's Classroom, a whole bunch of 6th graders. School facility improvement is Wednesday, October 25th. That's all I have, Mr. Larry.
Budget, we start voting cuts on Thursday. It won't be approvals. Won't be approvals.
Conservation went well. We really, the budget stuff all came in. Every month or every 2 weeks, they go out, some people checks trails. We had one, it's on the web, the town, it was on the town site, it was also on Facebook, okay? Where the vernal pool in one of the sites up here at the state forest. It looks like the ATVs have gone through there, but it may have been when there was no water in it at the time. Okay, if you look at it now, it's, you see where the, went through, but it was no water, I think, at the time that they did it, because we're in a
Is this
drought.
grassy pond?
State forest.
State forest, there's a
Oh,
couple,
okay.
there's a couple of them up there. But the damage was minimal, in my opinion, but what am I to say? You hit a frog with salamander, you're in trouble. So, I do cross the line.
Mr. LaSalle?
Oh, you done, you gonna start?
Heritage Commission has not met.
He's done.
Supposedly, we're gonna meet in November, but, emergency management, you know, there hasn't been any. I am part of a PFAS committee, and I attended a virtual meeting, actually last week. And, so I'm trying to keep up with that. It's a burden.
Are they accomplishing anything?
Well, there's a report coming out, if that means anything. The one thing that I had gotten a report that people were not getting water again. So one thing that we did have a stash at the old firehouse. And I asked Monadnock to put a bunch more in there, and they did.
Oh, good.
So we have now an emergency supply if people need it. We can, and Kevin has been very helpful in that.
Yep.
Nothing really going on in the legislature worthy of note, but that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Well, that ends our public session for this evening. We do have two non-public sessions. The first is under RSA 91A:32C, reputation of employee, and one under RSA 91A:32A, compensation of a public employee. Do we have a motion to go into non-public?
So move.
We have a motion by Mr. LaSalle's. We have a second by Mr. Leary. Roll call vote. Ms. Queenan?
Yes.
I am a yes.
Aye.
Mr. Leary?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the board is now entering a non-public session. While we do not anticipate the need to return to public session following the non-public session for any reason other than to adjourn the meeting, we reserve the right to do so if the non-public session necessitates the board taking action in public session. We are now going into non-public. Thank you for tuning in, and everyone be well.